Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Very special Saturday night edition Hollywood After Dark tonight. Oh, tonight we shall be feasting on the carcass of the never great, always wrong, never reliable Doomcock, joined tonight by the one, the only, Mikey Sutton, going to be laying down some Kathleen Kennedy information and talking about all sorts of movie-related topics. Let's get your popcorn, get your drinks, get ready to have a good time here tonight. Hollywood After Dark, let's freaking go. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Welcome to the party. I know I said last night I wasn't going to stream. I made it abundantly clear. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going out of town. And I did go out of town, and it was a lot of fun. I got back, and now I'm home, and then, you know, my friend Mikey Sutton's like, hey, let's stream. Let me tell you some stuff. Let's laugh at Doomcock. And I'm like, well, I can't turn that down now, can I? I can never not laugh at that masked bedpan buffoon. So anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to kick this motherfucker off tonight. So without further ado, let's bring in Mr. Mikey Sutton himself. How's it going, Mikey?
Oh, it's going great. Yeah, the last time I was here was when we confirmed Kathleen Kennedy, right? When she's back in the saddle again.
Yeah, well, the last time you were here, and this is really funny, and I think you should the next time a certain YouTube channel fronted by I believe a Norwegian gentleman reaches out for you to come on a show, you should be like, I'll come on your show, but you have to give credit. You have to give credit to the person with whom you have denied credit to for the Kathleen Kennedy scoop, because they said on their video that they were the first to report on Kathleen Kennedy's contract renewal, and I'm like, bitch, what? Now you just straight up stealing my shit. That ain't right. That ain't that, you know. But then again, I mean, what do you expect from these people, right? And I mean, I have it on good authority that one of the members of their group doesn't like it when I talk about them because he feels really bad at some of the mean things that I say. Well, my door is always open if you want to come defend your outlet from the disinformation that you push, the outright lies that you push, the theft of scoops that you claim to take, then by all means you can come on, and I will gladly let you kiss the ring. So nah, man, that's the thing with these people. I don't care. Like, I get, man, the comments on my shit when I call them out are really funny, because they're just like, why are you making fun of better YouTubers? I'm like, I'm not making fun of better YouTubers. I'm making fun of shitty people. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I caught your John Campia episode, though. Was it last night?
Yeah. Oh, man, people, I had one guy on that was really funny. One guy's like, oh, I stopped watching the live stream because you just clearly hate John Campia. I'm like, you didn't watch the stream, did you? And he's like, admittedly, no.
You actually defended John Campia, and actually I agree with you on that as well. I didn't see what he was doing that was so wrong. I mean, he was kind of caught in a bad situation there.
Well, and that is a problem, you know, with where we find ourselves in the current, you know, we live in a society that has trouble talking about tough issues, because everybody wants it to be instant gratification. You know, they a lot of these people, they want to treat this stuff like you know, like you can go get a coffee through Starbucks, right? You just drive through the drive-through, beep, boop, boop, done. You're good, right? Problem solved. But humans are nuanced, dangerous creatures overall.
Yeah.
And they're not always going to catch on to something maybe as quickly as they should. You know, I mean, how many people have like a homophobic uncle, you know, that like 20 years ago was like, oh, I hate the gays. But then now, like, you know what? That Queer Eye for the Straight Guy show is pretty good. Gotta say, I've come around on them homosexuals. You know, in my case, I have an uncle who started off as like a reformed drug addict turned very devout Christian, who is now full on QAnon.
Oh my!
And
God.
last I heard, lives in his car in a park, because he basically ran like this, he exhausted every resource that he had. That was until my grandfather passed away and left him a sizable inheritance. And I can only assume it's all gone now. I don't know. I haven't heard, but it's like he went full QAnon a number of years ago. Before QAnon was really QAnon, he dove into that rabbit hole. So maybe my pushback on this nonsense is partially stemmed from the fact that I've watched it consume family. And I say this, and I say this with no levity. I have a genuine fear that one of these people are going to listen to Doomcock or listen to Friday Night Tights or any of those very, very bigoted individuals talk about Kathleen Kennedy or Star Wars or hell, women in general, and then they might decide to take it upon themselves to set the timeline right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Right, and that's a fear of mine because we saw it in 2018. Almost 4 years ago, a woman went from San Diego to YouTube's headquarters over being upset at the new, partnership program structure, and shot 3 people before killing herself. Thankfully no one else died, but we've seen the January 6th insurrection. It wasn't a party at the Capitol. Miley Cyrus wasn't performing. None of that shit's real. It was an actual insurrection. It was an attempt to overthrow the government and influence it hands down. We've seen this kind of stuff play out through the proliferation of fake news, the proliferation of fake information, and the demonization of people deemed the other. And that is one of the reasons why I've kind of taken on this idea now of wanting to push back on these people, because I do take this seriously. We've seen real world consequences, and there is clearly, if we ever wanted to apply a Venn diagram, it's a lot, it's a lot bigger than you think.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really creepy how people can be easily programmed. I mean, it's disturbing, especially with QAnon. You go back even further than that with all the religious fanatics and everything. I mean, it's this constant part of the human race. It's every generation has a share of crazies that follow some sort of cause.
Yeah,
That leads them to do all sorts of disturbing and violent acts. I mean, it's just. This QAnon thing is very strange to me.
It's it's kind of like the way I view QAnon is it's like, it sounds kind of cool in theory, right? Mm-hmm. Like when I was a kid, I used to read the National Enquirer, especially the Weekly World News.
Oh God, it's great. I
love Weekly World News, right?
I love that, yeah.
And so much so that I wanted to actually do my own version of it a number of years ago. I wanted to write parody articles. And I created a website called the Axiom Dispatch, and the tagline was "Spurious news you can trust." and I had fun with it, but it takes a lot of work, and I just at the time couldn't really invest what I wanted to into it. But ultimately, it's fake news is fun when you know that it's fake and when it's for entertainment purposes only. The difference is that these guys, they don't present it as being for entertainment purposes. When you back them into a corner over it. When you can really get them into get them to kind of be honest about it, they'll go, oh well, it's just for fun. It's not real. We don't actually believe any of this shit. But it's like, you may not believe it. You might be saying it. Your audience doesn't know that. Mm-hmm. Your audience believes you're telling the truth. And when you lie about these things, which they all do all the time, they do it in its order to influence someone's opinion, and they do it because it's easy money. It really is easy money. I don't know if they all feel the same way, but after a while, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's a pretty bigoted fucking duck. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the thing. I kind of criticized Robert Meyer Burnett yesterday for playing into that as well, because he was doing a stream talking about one of those articles. I'm pretty sure it's Abounding in the Comics one, talking about how Marvel is like, is it woke or superhero fatigue or whatever?
Oh God,
that's killing it. And we destroyed that narrative last night. The fact that they sourced themselves overall without realizing it is just hysterical. But the part of it though is that he came back and he tried to deny it, or deflect, because he disagreed with the assertion. Uh-huh. But the idea here is when you tweet out that heel versus babyface is someone that you are proud to stream with, and he is an exceptionally bigoted, misogynistic, sexist individual. Mm-hmm. You are then platforming that person. You are then assigning yourself to their ideals because you're never pushing back on it. And I'm sorry. I think if you have a friend with a bad opinion and you know it's a shitty opinion, you kind of owe it to your friend to call it out. I'm not saying don't be friends with that person, but it's like at least be public with the, hey.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't say anything and you come out there and you say other shit, obviously, you're totally cool with what they have to say because, they don't like Star Trek or New Trek, whatever you want to call it. It's just, it's very, it's very annoying. Now, Tony here makes a great point. He says, why tell the truth when a lie will do? Because I think somebody out there, like it still needs to hold them to account. You know what I mean? And it might be a losing battle. But I have gotten comments from people on these streams and on these Chud Watch reports that have said that they've unsubscribed from these people because they realized that they were being lied to, especially in the case of Doomcock. How many times was Kathleen Kennedy going to get fired? How many times was the sequel trilogy going to get retconned? How many times? I mean, how many times? And there's a definitive number of that. And then you can tell now that they've moved into this Cameron Pasha situation where it is super weird and it's blatant. It's just blatant. Midnight's Edge sourced Cameron Pasha for a journalist perspective and then used Cameron Pasha's own rumor later on in the video, but cited it as being from an anonymous source. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. This is, again, no one facts check them. No one says it. No one in their audience ever sees that shit.
The problem is, Matt, is that there's a lot of people out there that don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear what they want to hear. So that's what they believe in. They believe in what they want to hear. They want their own narrative thrown back at them. Like, okay, yeah, I see, I knew I was right, And you try to convince them of the truth, and man, it's too late. It's way too late. Like, I can't count the number of times I had to try and talk with people, especially about Star Wars, about all the false stories on Star Wars. And lately, the past week or so, the whole Black Panther thing with Shuri.
Oh my God! Yeah.
That, I sat on that for weeks because I was like, man, this is tiresome, right? I mean, then Giant Freaking Robot had that, big story, which unfortunately went viral. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to even talk about this. But when the Hollywood Reporter finally came out and said it, and I was like, okay, I really can't ignore this anymore. People keep asking me about it because it is true. Is she done for? Does she quit? Is she fired? It's exhausting. It's exhausting having to deal with this every day. And that's one of the things I appreciate about you, Matt, is that you're not tired of debunking all this crap. I mean, you feel the need to be the voice of integrity and truth out there, and that makes you a true journalist in that sense already. And I really appreciate that, which is why I love going on your show. And especially when it comes to Star Wars, I think of you immediately.
Well, I would really love your endorsement for the best movie podcast of 2021 on the Fandom Awards, Mikey. That'd be great.
But what is HWAD though, man?
Yeah, oh, I know. Mad. Oh my God, Max. No, it's all good.
When I first saw that, I'm like, who would know this was you? Because for $3 Theater, you're known for,
I know.
Jarbo. I mean...
Oh no, he had the best movie. He did the best movie award, and he has Suicide Squad on there twice. and like a few of them, some of the spellings are just like, it's instead of last night in Soho, it's last name in Soho. So it's rife with like misspellings and and it's like what, this just seems like it's appropriate. It just feels like it's appropriate. But no, I mean, no, thank you. I like there to be, I don't care what people's opinions are, to be honest with you. Yeah. Like, I'll dunk on what I feel is a bad opinion, but if you have it, you have it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
All I care about is if you have an opinion, back it up with something. Like
Yeah.
legitimately back it up with something
Yeah.
and don't give me a bullshit answer. And when I listen to all these people and they try to explain, and it's like, dude, I can debunk this in 2 seconds, not difficult. Like you literally, like this is what I do. I wake up in the morning, I have RSS feeds that pump in like I think like 40 different sources. I have
Wow.
Google alerts for like the MCU, DCEU, Star Wars, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I thumb through a lot of it. And I read headline after headline after headline. I look for what's interesting. I look to see what's trending on Twitter. And people send me a lot of stuff as well. So when people send me all these things, it's not hard to look and see what's going on. And that's kind of why, like, I think it's funny that a lot of people kind of like, you know, like, okay, like for example, Cowboy Bebop was just canceled, right? And so I put out a short where I was making fun of the people who were like attacking the actress who played Faye Valentine because she didn't have gigantic anime titties. Okay, fine. Maybe they weren't like gigantic anime titties, but she didn't wear a bra in the anime and they jiggled. Okay. So people were really into the jiggle. And I'm
Yeah.
not against jiggle. I love jiggle. Jiggle good.
Yeah.
All right. There was a really good strip club outside of Portland called Jiggles. Love that place. It's gone now. I weep a tear of sadness. But so now people are coming back to it now that the show's canceled and they're like, oh, just take the L. And I'm all like, for one, I never said the show was good. I was talking about the controversy surrounding her was overblown as fuck. And I stand by that. Because
Yeah.
guess what? When the show came out, no one talked about her. It was a lot of other crap about the show, but no one was specifically really talking about her. And so it's like, again, that's the whole point. It's the goalpost moving that people have to hold on to.
Yeah.
And that's what they do, especially with people like Midnight's Edge and Cameron Pasha and all that, where it's like he comes on and he just says something, but he says it with confidence, Mikey, and that's the key. He says it with confidence, and he'll establish like what is like a narrative, and he'll tell you a story, and he'll tell it in a way because he's a storyteller, he's a writer, he knows how to convey these things like this.
Yeah.
But it takes a writer to catch a writer, essentially. And you listen to him weave the narrative, and then at the end he'll go, well, that's what I think. Right? He'll say it super quick, and you're like, and so if people aren't paying attention to that, or they're already caught up in this narrative he has spun, that's not gonna register with them. You know, because he says it very quick, and he's like, well, my speculation, I think this, you know, but everything else comes out as being this grand conspiracy. You know, the fact that he was out there saying that Susan Arnold, he was wrong. Bob Chapek isn't the master. He's the apprentice, and Susan Arnold from the Carlisle group, she's the Sith master. Right? Like, I'm like, the fuck are you saying, dude? Like, I'm like, pause the video. I zoom in on his eyeballs. I'm like, I can't tell if those pupils are dilated as fuck or not. Like, what are you on, man? You know, and then again, Midnight's Edge runs with that. They run with it. They put it in a video. They make it a centerpiece of it. And then they put on their Master and the Apprentice. Like, they back it up without ever once questioning what the fuck this idiot is talking about. And that is why they're lying to you. That is exactly why. And if Andre or Tom is listening to this, guess what? You fucking liars. You fucking lie to people. Stop it.
I think there's like I know people who are really into Cameron, mainly because of his Hollywood credentials. Like
Yeah, I know he's got some bona fides. Okay, I know that. All right. Like we can look at his IMDb and stuff, and I'm pretty sure he's worked on some things that weren't credited. You know, whether it was brought in to do a punch up on a script or maybe some consulting work or whatever. I'm sure he's done something, because even when I was a social media guy for a comedian named Maximini, even he was like kind of like floating the ideas like, well, he's like, you could do punch ups of scripts and those pay pretty good money. You just don't get credited, you know? And so like, I never did it because it was kind of a weird situation, but you know, I'm sure he's found ways to continue to work a little bit, but anyone who works in the industry now is going to listen to this guy now and just think he's off his fucking rocker.
Well, the whole what was it? The tarot card reading that was.
Oh yeah, the tarot card. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that wasn't him. To be fair, it was some other guy that Doomcock had on that was like that labeled himself a witch.
Okay, that
Right.
was it.
And
that
like
was,
last I checked, you know, I mean, I'm pretty sure a warlock would be considered a male witch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think so.
You know, I mean, look, hey, I'm not gonna knock you for what you want to identify
Yeah.
as. Okay, just saying, warlock sounds way cooler than witch. And then they're talking about like he's like, oh, I used the remote viewing and the obsidian mirror, and then here comes Cameron, and Cameron's like, well, my mother was into that sort of thing, and then this guy's like, well, Cameron, I'll teach you how to do it, and Cameron's like, awesome, teach me how to use the obsidian mirror to look into Kathleen Kennedy's office to see what's going on there. I mean, and all of this was said.
Yeah.
All of this was said without a shred of self-awareness.
Yeah.
None of it. And it was all just like you smile and nod, smile and nod. It is real. And that to me is one of the weirdest damn things. It's
It was really freaky, and I just wanted to say, Matt, when I watched your show, was it last night with John Campea, it kind of reminded me of an experience I was going through the past few days when we ran the story of Jonathan Kent, which HBO Max and been talking about having a show about him, him being bisexual and everything. I didn't write the article myself because I was afraid of the same thing that Campia was talking about. Like, what if I say the wrong word, or in today's social media, I was just afraid of like using obsolete language or something like, you know what, I'm gonna have a person on my staff who is a millennial, who is very progressive, and she's very aware of all these situations. So you know what, please write this for us. I just don't want to make the wrong mistake. So I understand the fragility of social media and being an older person. Like, you're not intending to offend somebody, but you accidentally say something you shouldn't be saying, even though that's not your intention.
yeah.
Because the way things are going right now, there's so much terminology now. Like, Matt, I had no idea what the whole pronoun thing was about. Seriously, I had no
Oh,
idea.
that's a discussion, Mikey. And it's one I would say don't look up neopronouns because you are just going to walk into a world of and even that you have your pronoun situation, and then they want to do the neopronoun thing, and the neopronoun is like pronouns on steroids. And the people who are who are pro neopronouns are kind of battling against those who are against it. And so the people
Hmm.
who are pro pronoun, but they're pro pronoun in a very binary fashion, and they don't want it to go over to this thing. I'll give you an example. Have you ever heard the
Yeah.
joke, I identify as an attack helicopter?
No.
You never heard that joke? That was a
No.
long time ago, a total kind of chud thing that was said.
Yeah.
But the joke, it had legs and it kept on. And people were like, here we are again, because they're making fun of pronouns with that attack helicopter thing.
Hmm.
And then, but neopronouns are, you can say that you identify as an attack helicopter, and that's a neopronoun. And so it's like, hold on a second, you know, it's like these are people who want to identify as cats and wolves and dogs and things like that,
Oh my God. Okay.
like, and that is, again, that is a whole thing that, you look into on your own time. I don't recommend it. It's definitely wild, but like that, it's a whole argument. And it's kind of like the Latin X, right? Or Latinx, or
Hmm.
however you want to pronounce it. I mean, that's
Hmm.
a big debate going on right now too, where Hollywood and the mainstream media is trying to push that onto the mainstream. And you have a lot of conservative Hispanics that are pushing back against it by saying, no, we don't want this, and
Hmm.
stop trying to label us something that is mostly being done for white people, and you're seeing a lot of this pushback on here. And then you're getting stuff. I think it was like, what is it? Spielberg had said that, and I don't know how true this is, but for like all of the Spanish speaking parts of West Side Story, there was no subtitles
Yeah. I heard that. Yeah.
because they didn't want to give English language power over the Spanish language. And I'm
Wow.
like,
Wow. That's.
okay. I mean, if what they're saying is not relevant to the plot, then I'm fine with it.
Hmm.
But if what they're saying is relevant to the plot, I don't speak Spanish. I
Hmm.
mean, very rudimentary. So if I don't know what's going on, that's going to take me out of the movie,
Yep, exactly. That's how I would feel as well.
you know? And so that's kind of a weird thing. And so it's kind of like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. The world is in a transition,
Yeah.
100% in a transition, but it's also it's in a place where people are exploiting a lot of the, I think they're exploiting a lot of the uncertainty with it. I think they're exploiting a lot of like the
Mm-hmm.
frustration.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, again, this all kind of comes back into like the fandom menace and people like Doomcock and people like Midnight Sedge and those guys who exploit the fact that, you know, that there are women and minorities that are in movies, guys. I'm sorry. They have roles, they have agency, they might lead a movie. I know, goddamn, right? Who would ever think we'd ever actually have a black person leading a movie? It's a wild concept, but it's where we
Yeah.
are, you know. And I mean, I'm not even making this up. Like you've got even today, for example, you've got like Nerd Erotic, you know. Let me see if I can find the image here. This is just something that was sent to me a little bit ago here. Is you know, you got him again. It's like you have to ask yourself, are they, when they say things like this, are they being legitimate, or are they just do they really believe this sort of stuff? So here we go. He posted the screenshot of the new Thor poster, Hawkeye, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Loki and Sylvie. And he's like, think there's a pattern here. Well, what's the pattern? The pattern is that there's too many women either in front of men, or there's too many women that are on the poster, or that are in the frame. You know, and because he always comes out and he says that these you know, people are being, that these men are being emasculated, that Marvel is emasculating men. That is very much incel
Yeah.
diatribes. That very much feeds into that, right? Like the Elliot Rogers supreme gentleman mindset. That was the guy who took his BMW and he mowed down 5 people back in Santa Barbara in 2014 after he killed his roommate and his roommate's friend,
Mm-hmm.
before he then killed himself before being arrested. You know, like a punk bitch.
Yeah.
And that guy was a raging ass incel. And we're seeing a lot of this stuff on the internet now with all this, oh, I hate women. A gay person in a show. Like you saw the new episode of Hawkeye, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, when they had the scene with the woman in the bag and she's like, but my wife gave me this.
Mm-hmm.
They all made fun of that. They all made fun of it. They all attacked it. They're just like, oh, do we need to know that she's gay? Well, if she said my husband gave you this, would you bat a fucking eye? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
So if your wife gave you this, or your partner, it doesn't mean anything. It's the same thing. Gay marriage has been legal in the United States, according to the Supreme Court, at least for fucking now. Who knows when that's going to change after Roe v. Wade dies, but that's
Oh
a whole
God.
other
Yeah.
goddamn argument,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, since 2013, we're talking 8 years now, that's been something that's been federally allowed, as it
Mm-hmm.
always should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still upset about a gay person being represented in a show. And that's what I'm talking about with this nonsense, Mikey. It is escalating to the point of where anytime that there is a person of color, a woman, or a minority that has a prominent part, or something about their identity is made prominent inside of a scene or something, that is
Mm-hmm.
somehow a cause for concern with these men. And
Well-
and by the way, that's a stretch of a term I'm using there, by the way.
Well, the hypocrisy of it all, Matt, is that Marvel has always been progressive. With Stan Lee, when he introduced Black Panther back in the late '60s, he got a lot of flack for that. You know, it's like there's a lot of there were no comic book stores back then. There was like your mom and pop shops and drugstores that carried comic books. In the South, they would not carry his first appearance where he had a black superhero on the cover. They got death threats over that, in fact. But you know what? Marvel pursued it, and in the '70s, it's really hilarious, Matt, is that a lot of these people are complaining about Captain Marvel and Brie Larson, this whole woke thing, right? Um, the character Carol Danvers back in the '70s when she first debuted, she was working for a Women's Lib magazine. It was very feminist in the '70s,
Yeah.
and they didn't hide it at all. But It's like when you're a kid, you didn't notice those things. Like all of a sudden, oh, now Marvel's progressive or Kevin Feige is woke. Well, guess what? So is Stan Lee, you know, and all those guys back then. Um, they had all these female-led comic books back in the early '70s during women's lib, and there was no fuss about like they're making now because there was no internet back then. But you see now, Matt, you can make money off it. You can make money off that rage.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of money off that rage.
Oh yeah. So it changes everything. Um, a lot of this stuff, a lot of these arguments I see online from these people is completely alien to me. Not because of some kind of liberal progressive agenda I have, it's because my roots are in alternative rock, and all this is just like, really? I mean, alternative rock back in the 80s was all about androgyny, so none of this is like even shocking to me. It's just like, why are you so bothered by it? And obviously these
Yeah.
people have their own, they're insecure about their intersexuality, right? Whether incels or whatever they are. But
I
I'm
mean,
really
like,
glad to see you calling them out on it, Matt. Very, very proud of you.
I think more people need to, and I think on social media, I'll tell you this, on Twitter they are.
Yeah.
They are like Nerdrotic and Doomcock are getting ratioed left and right, and and so much so that Doomcock actually like had to publicly post that he was running away from Twitter for a while after saying on a video that he doesn't actually read Twitter, doesn't actually care about Twitter, but this actually, he had to. It's so just toxic, Never. So it's really interesting how it's like pushback makes them crumble.
Yeah.
And that is why I said this last night. They will never debate me ever because it's not in their best interest to do so. It really is actually completely against their best interest to have me on for an actual debate. Because
they'll lose to you anyway.
They would lose anyway. Let's be fair. I'm a lot more of a bulldog than I was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And that's fine with me. And I also have a lot of data and facts, and I remember a lot of shit. So, it's like, then you ask them the hard questions, like, so what is it about a vagina that scares you? I mean, I understand that if you look at a Barbie doll and she's naked and it's smooth down there, you go, oh, that's not scary. But when there's a slit and a little button that you play with in order to make it happy, that could be a little bit frightening, which then tells me that they've probably never actually satisfied anybody in their entire life before. That's my take on that.
No, I totally agree with you on that. That's most likely the case.
They're just like, ew, it's sticky and smells. Yeah, welcome to sex. Oh, I'm sorry. You've only watched it on the internet where, you can't smell it or deal with the cleanup. Whoopsie.
Yeah, there's no scratch and sniff on there. It's all beautifully filmed,
There we go. Right as we hit 100 people watching, we start talking about pussy.
Well, it's.
But look, we're honoring vaginas at this point.
Exactly.
We're honoring. Yeah.
It's Hawad time,
It's Hawad time. Yeah, that's right. It's Hawad. Yeah, I know. I love it too because people are like, you say the weirdest shit. I'm just like, yeah.
You should hear when I do story time on Rogues Galleries. like, oh shit, story time. He's gonna talk about penises and vaginas again. So.
I mean, like, you know what? Hey, listen. That's how babies are made.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm just saying, like I want to, again, I made this joke last night. I'll kind of recant it or I'll retell it, but I really want to ask Ivan Reitman if the scene in Ghostbusters 2, when they shoot all the goo on the inside of the Statue of Liberty, if that was really a metaphor for impregnation.
Never even thought about that, but that would make sense.
Yeah. And then like, what's the song? Like, it gets me higher and higher. Right. You can groove to that, right? You can groove to that track. And then, lo and behold, that, you know what though, but it failed, but you know what, but, I'd say it failed to impregnate because we never got a true Ghostbusters 3. There we go.
There you go.
There we go on that one. And then through the act of artificial insemination, we got the video game in 2009. 20 years later.
Well, that it all goes back to William Shatner's Saturday Night Live skit, where he goes, "Have you ever kissed a girl?" Like that's really what it reminds me of when I see all these raging males, go up on their misogynistic sprees. Like, have you actually ever been with a woman? Is that what all this anger is for? Like,
I don't know.
like
I just find it. I mean, maybe it's because that's the audience that they're finding that they're going for.
there
You
you
know,
go, exactly, yeah,
but I'll put it to you like this: you look at someone like, let's say, Geeks and Gamers, right? And we
yeah.
all know he is exceptionally bigoted. It's not an act. That is him as a person. He'll even say, "No, it's just me amped up." Well, if what you're saying is you amped up, then you know what? Like clearly you've got problems. But what they do is they also have a litany of other channels, right? They talk
Hmm.
about gaming, they talk about sports, they talk about theme parks. They have a theme park channel here on YouTube, and they go to Disney World and they shoot a bunch of video content for that, which that gets into an entirely different subsect of the internet of YouTube, right? The different algorithm game. And then those people who find that they could potentially, because it's tied into Geeks and Gamers, well, oh, if you're watching park hopping, it's associated with this channel, then maybe we're going to serve you up Geeks and Gamers content, which can then start to fuel that. And then from there, and again, this has been proven to happen. Jeremy has another channel called D-Day Cobra, where he was going off on vaccine mandates. He's going off. He thinks that there was voter fraud, that the election was stolen, and
Oh God,
and he was pushing it really hard for a while
yeah.
until those $billion lawsuits started getting doled out, and then he backed the fuck off.
Hmm.
Because he knew when to cut and run, but he was still saying that kind of crap, and those videos are still up there. So that pipeline exists. We know that pipeline exists. And so it's like putting out content that could potentially act as a contraceptive for that is why it's important. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like we have to be the condom of YouTube. Like we got to be the spermicide. We got to get in there and be like, no.
Well,
I don't know where I think of this shit. It just I literally is top of my head crap here.
you sound like a radio DJ, or like those like a radio broadcaster.
Yeah, get me,
Um,
get me. Yeah, I think I have a feeling my dad is jealous I do this because like this is what he wanted to do, but he got
yeah.
fired from a college radio station in the '70s for making a couple dirty jokes, and then I'm out here talking about like, filling the Statue of Liberty with cum for Ghostbusters 2. I mean, the times have changed. You know what I mean? From like the late '70s to the to the early 2020s, times have absolutely changed, and I can say a lot more. So, hey, listen, we got 104 people watching this. If you're having a good time tonight, if you enjoy these kind of conversations, hard, factual, data-driven conversations with dick jokes, leave a like and become a channel member. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe so you get in on the action because I go live all the time. So I think with that, considering that we've been at this for about 40 minutes now, we should probably get into the meat of
Sure.
the subject. So,
Yeah. I'll whip out the meat now.
well, I'm consenting. So
There you go.
there we
you
go. There we go. That's how that's affirmative consent, folks. Okay. That's how you do it. All right. Someone asks you, may I whip it out? And you go, sure. Sure. Only if you want. If you don't want it, you can say no, and then he won't do it. But if you say sure, you're just going to get a face full of cock.
Well, two consenting adults. So there you go.
True. Real quick though, before we get into that one, we got a $5 super chat here from Command Unit. It says react to Commissar convincing Orgian. I'll see if I have time tonight for that, buddy, but I got it locked and loaded right here. Thank you for that one here. What is it called? It's the Commissar convincing Ogrin to get in the transport. It's a 2-minute 40K short story. Okay, Command Unit loves this 40K.
Okay.
And then he dropped another super chat here. Says, I'm so hyped for Dark Tide and Space Marine 2 coming out next year. Lord of Mercy on my sleeping schedule. Well, you know what, man? You can play those games while you listen to this show. How about that? That's good stuff. Command Unit is from Israel, loves 40K, and he's the resident 40K guy here. And then also we got a $5 super chat here from Jess Mars. Oh, this is such a nice comment. Matt is the Howard Stern of YouTube. Matt, help your dad make his YouTube channel so he can live his dream. Here's the thing with that. I bought him a fucking microphone a while back, right? I bought him a microphone, and he ended up like losing his job last year when everything shut down. He's got a better job now that he really likes. But I bought him a microphone, and I'm like, why don't you just start a channel? Why don't you start a channel? We should talk about shit. Because my dad's a smart guy. Smart. He's really funny. And he would definitely go hard on politics though, because he likes politics. And he's just like hasn't done it yet. So, like I gotta hammer him again over it because I think he wants to. I mean, he's like, he's in his early 60s. There's no time you can't do it. There's no time to not come out and make your voice heard, especially nowadays. And so yeah, I think that'd be great to get him on there. And then as for the Howard Stern comment, thank you. It's funny you say that because I've actually really been wanting to get back into psychology to learn how to do better interviews. So, because that's what Howard Stern did. He actually, when talking to his therapist, he kind of started reading psychology books on how to ask questions, and then how to really kind of dive into some good combos. And that's something I'd like to do.
He's a very smart guy, Howard Stern. He's a very intelligent man. I mean, I know people. He's got a reputation of being a shock jock and everything, but he's really smart. If you've seen the film Private Parts, that was a great film.
I saw it opening day first show, age 15, with my mom. With my mom.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. So I had gotten in wrestling class, I had gotten a mild concussion earlier in the week. And I took the day off to go to a chiropractor because it was all messed up and stuff. And then my mom was like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I really want to go see Private Parts. And she's like, what's that? I'm like, it's the Howard Stern biopic. And she's like, Howard Stern, the shock jock? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, yeah, you know who he is. She's like, yeah, I know who Howard Stern is. I'm like, well, then you want to go see it? And she's like, okay. She had no idea. She's like, it's rated R. She had no idea. She's even at this point here, it's been over 20 years. And she'll be all like, I can't believe I took my 15-year-old son to go see Private Parts when it came out. Like, she's like, I should have covered your eyes. I'm all like, no, Jenna Jameson needs to be seen.
And that was directed by Penny Marshall too, right? I mean, it's a female director on that film.
Oh, really? Penny Marshall? I didn't know Penny Marshall directed that.
Yeah, directed that. Yeah,
it's a good movie. It's a really solid film. It's it was my first interaction with Paul. My first introduction to Paul Giamatti. As Pig Vomit, he was perfect in that. Allison Janney was great in that. I mean, like I had the soundtrack. I actually bought the book it was based off of. Like I read it, and I got really into Howard Stern back then. I have Sirius XM right now. I just don't listen to him as much. I'll catch clips on YouTube and stuff, but I like the more mellowed out Howard Stern more than I like the because I like being a bit shocky. I like to say things that get you laughing. But like I just like the more in depth stuff. I think that's really where it's at.
Yeah.
Ivan Reitman directed it. Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Penny Marshall. Why do I have Penny Marshall attached to that film? I don't know why.
I don't know why Ivan Reitman though. But hey, Reitman is GOAT too, man.
Yeah.
Reitman is great. Again, we were just talking about Ghostbusters too, so it makes sense.
Yeah, there you go.
Wait, hold on. Oh, Ivan Reitman was. I'm just looking this. I'm just gonna look this up on.
Yeah, I'm looking it up because Penny Marshall is in my brain for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay, Private Parts, IMDb. All right, let's see here. It was directed by Betty Thomas. We were all wrong.
Betty Thomas. Okay, that's who it was. Okay.
What did Betty Thomas else did she direct? She did. She was in Troop Beverly Hills. Okay, she
was an actress, right? Wasn't she?
She was an actress first, I believe. Yeah. She did the Dr. Dolittle with Eddie Murphy. That's actually a really good one. She did 28 Days, which I was actually just thinking about that tonight. I was gonna go buy a copy of it, and then just go, hey guys, did you know that there's a 28 Days trilogy? And I was gonna be like, look, there's 28 Days with Sandra Bullock, then 28 Days Later, and then 28 Weeks Later.
Wasn't she in Hill Street Blues? I don't know. Like a blonde cop in there. I think that was.
She also directed fucking I Spy with Owen Wilson and Eddie Murphy.
Wow.
And Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel she did. And then she's kind of done like a couple TV shows since then. Let's see here. What else was she in? What show did you say?
What's it?
Oh, hold on. You cut out. What? I think we lost Mikey. Oh, he's muted. There we go. Okay, Mikey, you back? All right. So I think he's dealing with some mic issues right now. He cut out real quick. Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, what was it? Hill Street Blues that she was in?
Yeah, she was Sergeant or Officer Lucy Bates
Yep, that was her. Yeah, okay.
from 1981 to 1987.
Yeah, I used to watch that show. That was like the first serious drama I used to watch as a kid.
I mean, that's kind of cool though. That I didn't know that she directed some movies that I really really like. So and she was also in Troop Beverly Hills.
That's right. Man, we're going back to the 80s,
she was the main antagonist of the movie. She
with Shelley Long, right? I believe.
Yeah.
See, why is it that I remember like all films from the 80s? I can't remember anything recently except for the blockbusters. Did I tell you, Matt? I used to watch 15 to 30 films a week. When I was in the Philippines,
I wish I had time to do that now. I don't.
I don't have the time to do that. In the Philippines, you could rent a film for the equivalent of 10 cents. So we'd rent about 30 a week. I saw everything.
I heard from my former boss that in the Philippines you could get a lot more for 10 cents too.
Oh, a lot more, yeah. Well,
a lot more. Funny story. This is a true story. My former boss spent like 23 years in the Navy, and he loved his hookers. I'm not even kidding you. And he would always tell us stories. He'd come out and he'd sit down and smoke stories. He's like, ever tell you at the time I took Mama Sam home? And I'm all like, Brian, dude, shut the fuck up, man. I don't want to hear about the time you had sex with Mama Sam. He's like, no. It was an interesting story. I was waiting for my other girlfriend to get off work, but she wasn't there that night. And Mama San, listen, she was kind. And, I mean, like, he would just tell us all these stories and shit. But he goes, one night, he's at the box office and he pulls out his wallet. And he's like, hey, let me show you this. And I'm like, all right. And he pulls out his wallet, and in his wallet, he pulls out this little black and white photo. And it's two servicemen surrounded by three hookers. And he's like, this is me and my brother, Longapo, Thailand, Christmas Day, 1975. And he's all like, guess which one I had sex with? I'm like, Brian, dude, what the fuck, man?
One day, Matt, I'll tell you my snake story one day.
Oh.
Trust me, it's memorable, Matt.
Oh man, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. I mean, like, I had friends who were in the service who went over there and they came back with stories, and I honestly think a lot of guys I know in the Navy lived in San Diego. So that would be something when they go on Westpac. You're like, oh well, they're gonna come back with some stories from Thailand or Philippines or Australia or whatever it is they're gonna be going to. It's one of those like things where you can tell they just come back to brag to their friends, right? That's the whole point. I really think that there are some dudes that join the Navy just to get a free trip to the Philippines to like buy hookers and come back and just go, guys, guess what I did? 2 chicks, same time, $50.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more extreme things that that have happened.
My friend who recently passed away, that was his story. I'm not kidding you.
Oh, really?
He joined he went overseas on Westpac. He did 2 chicks at the same time. He came back and I was like, he's kind of all like, yeah. And I was like, how was it? And he's all like, it sucked. So I'm like, all right, man. King of Golden State here says stories won't be the only thing they bring back. That's right, man. That's right.
Yeah.
Music Man here says, hey, just got off work. What I miss? About 49 minutes of a lot of conversation. So a lot of stuff to listen to, buddy, but it's worth the replay. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I had a guy, knew a guy who went over there when he was younger, and I said, what do you remember most about being stationed in the Philippines? He goes, I remember me having green piss. I'm like, dude, like, what the fuck, man?
How do you have green piss?
Yeah, he got some something from a hooker,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
and he was pissing green, and like, dude, that's just flat out
yeah.
disturbing. Like, I
You
don't want
know,
to know. I don't know
that's
what.
I get that. Yeah, wow. I've never I mean, that's the question where it's like, are you just dehydrated or like were you given a special elixir? Like what happened? I have no idea. But yeah, Jesus, I
And then
yeah.
there's I got really quick. I gotta share this story. I had never
All right.
shared it before. So when I was there was this naked man that would walk around the city. Um, he was completely nude. No one ever arrested him or anything. He had chicken feathers all over his body, and the chicken feathers were like they were glued on. But there was a myth that he actually grew chicken feathers, but they call him Chicken Man, and he would walk around outside Clark Air Force Base, completely in the buff, and just we have chicken feathers on, and then he would beg for food and everything, and they would help him. And um, what apparently happened that was this is like a villain's secret origin, right? Um, Apparently there is some kind of chemical explosion, and the chicken feathers got on him, and he's basically insane. But he would just walk around with all these chicken feathers, and his flesh was scarred, and um, but it was the weirdest thing I ever saw, man. And a lot of the servicemen would take pictures with him and everything. I mean, if social media existed back then, this guy would be on TikTok right now, right? But
Making that money.
exactly right. But I don't know whatever happened to him. But that was just one of the most memorable experiences I had there. Besides the whole snakes thing, which one day I will,
One day,
one day,
Mikey will tell the infamous snake story.
and it's really, really nasty. It's probably the nastiest thing you'll ever hear on your show. So I just
Well,
telling you.
then I have to one up it. Like that's just how this
There you go.
works.
There you go. There you go.
That's I'll give you a frame by frame breakdown of Two Girls One Cup because that's
Gosh,
entertainment.
yeah, yeah, I remember seeing that. Boy.
Oh man, I got so many people to watch that just based on YouTube reactions. I'm telling you right now, listen, YouTube reactions, that moves product. Okay.
Yeah,
That
it
moves
does. Yeah.
product. You get a good reaction over something, someone like, oh, I want to check this thing out. Cause that's how I got people in 2007 to check out Two Girls, One Cup because they're like, that's gross. I don't want to see that. I'm like, hold on, yo, go on YouTube and just type in Two Girls, One Cup reaction, watch a couple of them. And you know what they did? They watched it and they went, okay, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Oh, I gotta see this now. Like, because it just gets them intrigued. Like, oh my God, is it that gross? Because people intrinsically want to also be grossed out. They want to be part of the team. People want to
Yeah.
be part of the party. So by watching that kind of stuff, and I would just laugh my ass off, because they're just all like, how doesn't that disgust you? And I'm just like, dude, I'm on 4chan. What are you talking about? I've seen way worse. But anyway. Let's see here.
Somebody sent me that video a long time ago. I think MySpace was still around when I got that video. I had no idea what it was. Right, I'm watching. I'm like, oh my God, what am I watching? And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it gets worse.
Yeah. No, that's relatively true. It's 2 minutes and 1 minute and 50 seconds of absolute terror.
Yeah.
I mean, like you could probably put what was it? You could probably put the tagline for that episode of the Gremlin episode of the Twilight Zone and put that on Two Girls, One Cup. It might work. Real quick here, Command Unit with another $5. Thank you, buddy. Says, did you watch the YouTube Premium is Broken by Spiffing Brit? He talks about exploiting downloading a video because it counts as watching a video 100%. Saying here also, if you can convince your YouTube Premium users to download the VOD, you can increase your revenue by a lot. Well, if anyone here has YouTube Premium, feel free to download all my videos and watch them. I appreciate it. Thank you I didn't know that. I'll check that video out because I have YouTube Premium. So, and I do download a lot of videos. So let me know on that. But all right. We're at roughly 55 minutes into this thing.
It's just flying by so quickly. I didn't even notice.
It's having fun. We're having fun. People are laughing. People are definitely laughing. We're having a grand old time talking about hookers, Two Girls, One Cup. Standard Saturday night entertainment news. Hold on. I'm just so this whole you know, you hit me up the other day and you were like basically, like I got some news. You were like, I got some news about Doomcock. Or stuff that's not about Doomcock, but that's gonna
Yeah.
make Doomcock upset.
Yeah.
And that always speaks a lot to me. I don't have the image of him crying. I don't have it queued up, unfortunately. It's on my phone, but I don't have it on my computer. Damn it. So all right. So fill me in on this here. What's going on? What's the big news about Star Wars right now?
Well, everything about Star Wars is pretty much centered around Kathleen Kennedy, much to the chagrin. I know of some people out there that, there's been rumors going around that Kathleen's not really in charge anymore. Did you hear that? I heard that.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard that. I've heard that that she's been renewed, but it's only for 2 years, so she can finish up Indiana Jones, and then she's been relegated to a back corner office, and that she's no longer in charge of Star Wars. That's all Dan and Dave. And she's no longer running the company. She's just there as a figurehead, but they're going to give her a whole bunch of awards and they're just going to let her retire with dignity. I've heard a lot of shit. And you know what? I still see that she's still listed as the president of the fucking company.
Yep. She still is. There's nothing's changed in the power distribution over at Lucasfilm. That it's still the same. Nothing has changed. In fact, she really is going to double down on the High Republic.
I mean, well, that announcement the other night.
Yeah.
And that was a trailer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, her focus is so much on the High Republic right now, and getting that theatrically is a big part of what she's planning. There's no holding back on the High Republic. I know I haven't read any of those books yet, or anything, or comic books. Have you? Have you taken what do you think?
I haven't, to be honest. Like I wanted to.
Yeah.
When they were coming out, I think almost a year ago now.
Yeah.
They were coming out. And I'm like, all right. I might get I have like the audio book of the first book. I think it's like the Children of Light or something by Charles Soule, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I've got it. And then it's like, okay, but then there's like kids books and there's the comics, and it just it is a lot to kind of dive into. Now I think they're getting close to like their third leg of the publishing with it, and I haven't dove in, and but I've heard there's been some controversy. There's a character Geode, right? It's like a rock that does navigation.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's Star Wars, like literally anything and everything can happen, so it's fine. But I've heard like good things about it, and I've watched some of Star Wars Explains videos on it, because his passion actually I really like. I like it when he does his deep dive videos, because there's a lot of passion there. I don't like listening to his live shows, because I don't think he's that interesting to listen to, but he's got the passion where it counts, which is in those Explain videos.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's really trying to sell it, and a lot of other people who are big into Star Wars are like it as well, but it's just not mainstream yet. And it's I've been saying this multiple times, that their plan is to get into China. That the High Republic is designed to get into China. And I've been saying this, Mikey, since I want to say either the fall of 2018 or the fall of 2019. I have to go back and look at the video, but it's when they announced that they were doing ebooks for China. So that's more or less like my take on it is, they've been clearly wanting to do this.
Yeah, in terms of theatrical films, I mean, they're playing it cautiously right now. I mean, they're really burned by the Rise of Skywalker. Was a big burn for them, but there's nothing in terms of they're canceling all her projects and all that other such nonsense. Well,
I mean, remember they said the other day, the big thing that came out of that. Oh, by the way, my video that I'm talking about was called Star Wars Invades, or How Star Wars Will Invade China.
Yeah.
And it's from October 18th, 2019. So just over 2 years ago. And the thing is what it was is Disney had teamed up with Tencent in Tencent's China Literature, their ebook brand,
Mm-hmm.
to release Star Wars ebooks. They released like 41 ebooks for free at that time, and then they hired Chinese bloggers, like a prolific one, to write a China centric Star Wars story. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, guess how many Chinese residents each month read ebooks?
How many?
417 plus million,
Jesus Christ.
right?
That's
Because there's like
damn.
1.4, 1.5 billion people. More
Yeah.
people in China read ebooks than there are in the entire United States. And so that's a big factor, right? They're doing a grassroots campaign. They've been doing this now for a couple of years. They're building a grassroots campaign in China to open up the Middle Kingdom. Why? Because the movies haven't done very well there, because there is
Mm-hmm.
no history, there's no lore. And so obviously that's the whole damn point, which is why I think whatever this next movie is, and I don't think it's Rogue Squadron, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, whatever you're going to tell me next, keep in mind, guys, Mikey has told me nothing about any of this. He's like, let's talk about Kathleen Kennedy and let's make Doomcock cry. And I'm like, you sold me at making Doomcock cry. But he's told me nothing else, and I've asked for nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, even tonight's thumbnail, like literally tonight's thumbnail was, I asked Mikey, what are we talking about again? And he just goes, Kathleen Kennedy. And I'm like, I got you. Say no more. And I made that thumbnail real quick. But so anyway, I think they're going after China. This is how I think they're going after China.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah, you're right on track there. That they really want to develop High Republic for a theatrical trilogy. That's something that Kathleen Kennedy is really focused on. I don't know what parts of High Republic they're adapting, but that's going to be the big deal going forward with Star Wars is the High Republic. They're establishing all these books for a reason, Matt. I mean, this is what they look at as the future of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And all these people who are saying that Kathleen Kennedy is gone, no, she's actually quite comfortable where she's at. And Filoni's not taking over, Favreau's not taking over. All that is nonsense. I wish Favreau or Filoni were in charge, but that's just not the case.
Well, now are they taking over? Because there's been the rumor about them making their way over to the feature film side of things. I've been hearing that a little bit.
Yeah, there are discussions of Heir to the Empire. Last I heard, though, Matt, is that they're looking at that as a Disney Plus film.
Makes sense.
Because all these shows are leading into that. Because you have Thrawn, this game Mandalorian. So they're going to lead into Heir to the Empire as a Disney Plus film because they want to do more Disney Plus films because it's something that they haven't been doing. I think Secret Invasion was going to be a film, but it's a limited series now. But it's like, is it really a mini series or is it really a long film? I mean, it's you can break it down however you will. But as far as cinematic is concerned, Matt, High Republic is where she wants to take this thing. That's going to get the cinematic treatment.
Well, yeah, I mean that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
That makes all the sense in the world, and they were, you could tell, like you could tell that it's like when they announced the publishing initiative, it's like, yeah, clearly this is where they're going.
Yeah,
and the fact that Quantic Dream is working on a High Republic game, you know, and that's going to be coming out probably before that. I would say 2 years is when that's going to come out, right before the release of the next movie.
Yeah,
which should tell you right now that is going to be the subject of the next fucking movie. Is going to end up being the High Republic and something along the lines of that, so they can start shilling that, because either, and I said this too, and I'm sure you'll agree, I said either they have to go 200 years in the future or 200 years in the past, because they have to go past the Skywalker saga so far to where we're not in that world anymore, or go further back to where, again, we're not in that world and it's just a different time. But it makes all the sense in the world to go back so they can then establish that pathway to get to the original trilogy. Because when if they nail it, if they succeed and they go to China, and again, it's all about China. And if they get it to China and they can bridge that gap, they can make it click. They're going to be opening up a whole new fan base to a whole new market of films, and that's going to end up just domino effect is what's going to happen.
Well, the concern going forward, Matt, is is them aging out of the demographic that they're trying to get a younger audience, trying to get a younger, diverse audience, especially internationally. And as popular as The Mandalorian was, and as popular as the Book of Boba Fett will be, um, I mean, The Mandalorian was able to cross over in that because let's face it, Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda got a lot of people
It
into
it
Star
was
Wars.
it was definitely the gateway drug.
It was a gateway drug, right? Exactly. They got a lot of kids into Star Wars that wouldn't have been interested before. But Baby Yoda was he was a rocket raccoon of Star Wars. Let's face it, you know. Um, but in terms of theatrical, Kathleen Kennedy really wants to go for that younger crowd. Um, and the High Republic is going to be that vessel for them moving forward theatrically. I know everybody would rather see like a Mandalorian movie or whatnot. It's not happening, and that's not happening right now, man. Um, you
Well,
know,
truth be told, I don't even want to see it as a movie.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I mean, like it's fine where it's at.
yeah,
For me, it's great where it's at. I think
yeah,
it's a fine establishment to or it's a fine place to let it be at. And I think a lot of people out there, and I get it, I totally get it. Like people
yeah.
out there, they want to, they want to see it. They think Star Wars should be an event film, that Star Wars should
Yeah.
be theatrical. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong, but when you think about Star Wars overall, the concept is like, look, it was based around serials. And the best place to serialize something is on Disney Plus. People are, theaters are changing. Not that they're going away, but they're changing. And so that's going to require the studios and these companies to also change their focus. And it's going to take a couple of years to get back to normal. Just it really, really, really is.
Yeah.
I love this here. James Sherlock says Star Wars is dead while rocking a Stormtrooper Abby. It ain't dead. It ain't dead. Stop pestering his corpse. It ain't dead. I'm sorry. Like we're still talking about it. We're still excited for it. I don't understand what the hell that's dead. But speaking of the whole Kathleen Kennedy stuff being canceled thing, again, look at the Amanda Stenberg announcement from the other day with the casting for The Acolyte. And then that was something that was rumored a couple weeks ago when people were saying, oh, well, we know that The Acolyte is being canceled. We know that The Acolyte is being delayed indefinitely. We know all these things that The Acolyte and Kathleen Kennedy's prep project is not going to happen. And then lo and behold, we see a High Republic video game announcement, like before Jedi Fallen Order 2, by the way.
Yep.
Or another, well, apparently there was a Battlefront 3 was pitched, but it just didn't go anywhere. The massive studios, the people behind the Division games, they're working on not only an Avatar title, which we saw a trailer for at E3 this year, but they're also working on a Star Wars title that they were able to, they're able to pitch to Disney. And so they're doing all this stuff with it. It's not like, it's not dead. The High Republic books have consistently been on the New York Times bestseller list. The comic books have had multiple reprintings.
Yeah.
People are buying, people are reading, it's a slow build out, but that side of the fan base is pretty invested into it. And I think a lot of people, again, when you talk about like the Doomcocks and the Nerdotics and all those guys, they do not know what the hell they talk about, period. They look at everything from a surface level, chud right perspective where they know nothing. They're all fucking Jon Snow. And they all act like they know everything. They know nothing, and they keep getting it wrong, and they keep getting embarrassed. And more and more people are now calling it the hell out. And I think the walls are going to crumble a little bit. So they start retreating back to their echo chamber. Now, there was a question here I saw from, I want to make sure I get to it here. No, I missed it. Sorry, it's down here. Okay, it's from James Tyler asking, for Mikey, was Benioff and Weiss planning on making High Republic movies before they departed? Did they write the books and comics to try to lead into those films?
No, I don't think. I think those guys were doing a different era of Star Wars. If I recall correctly, I don't think it was.
Well, the rumor was the Old Republic. That was the rumor at the time. And a lot of people really, really want like Revan to come back. They really want all that. Here's the thing with that though, is yes, they are doing a remake of the game. So I mean, it does feel like with them doing a remake of the game coming out, I think either next year or 2023, there's going to end up being, speculation about a movie tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, look, I don't know about that. I would say maybe High Republic could potentially be something on Disney Plus, or maybe a Star Wars animated project or something, but they got to work the deal with BioWare and EA to allow them to use that story, because that's an original story that was created, that BioWare wrote and BioWare created with that license. So they still have to work a deal with them in order to be able to adapt it. Now, BioWare absolutely positively needs the goodwill right now. So I would see them not having a problem with that. However, we don't quite know what would happen or when it's going to go down. So I don't know. I think I have a feeling that that Revan might actually be migrated into the High Republic rather than being the Old Republic. And that's going to anger people. But at the same time, it's like, well, you get Revan. Do you fucking care?
Well, here's the interesting part, Matt, because I've been asking about the Kevin Feige project for a while now, and it's in like Fort Knox right now, trying to get the way its security is for what Feige is planning on producing there. Um, After all the conversations I've had with people, Matt, there's one thing that keeps coming back. That two things. I'll say this, and you can speculate on what this could be just from what I tell you.
Okay.
Number one, it's very consistent that everybody who knows anything tells me this, that this project is based on an existing property.
Okay.
It could be a book or a video game series, and not only that, it's based on something that came out in the 90s. Okay, those are the two things that I have been whispered about that Feige had been wanting to do for a long time since he was a kid.
And we've touched upon our theories about what that could be.
Yeah,
and it was funny is the other day they released the one of the new previews for Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah,
and there was a ship in there that I saw people speculating could potentially be Dash Rendar's ship. And I don't think it is. I watched the trailer. I was like, I don't know. I mean, like, from like an angle or two, I kind of get it. You're like, yeah, maybe it could be.
Yeah.
But that got some hardcore Star Wars Twitter accounts going like, yo, are they going to introduce Dash Rendar? I mean, are we going to get a Shadows of the Empire, adaptation, something like that? Because look, again, that publishing initiative back in the day was massive. And that is something that, like, if they can continue that, I mean, look, think of the goodwill they're going to get with fans, right? Look, I mean, I know Baby Yoda opened the door to Mandalorian, but the quality of the content propelled it,
Yeah.
So, I mean, and just imagine it again. I think the Mandalorian is the stepping stone to everything. And obviously, I mean, I don't know. I think I don't think they wouldn't do Shadows of the Empire theatrically, would they?
I don't know. All I do know is that the Feige project is theatrical. It's going to be huge in terms of the budget and everything, and it's based on something that Feige really loves from his youth. Those things keep being brought up.
Okay.
Which one it is, I don't know, but those are the clues that I have, and it's pretty consistent with each person I talk to who knows anything about it. So all these people who are against the High Republic, then okay, you have at least Feige's project to look forward to, right? So now a lot of the old school Star Wars stuff that seems like it's going to be on Disney Plus. Obviously you have the Lando show that's coming as well, but the theatrical side, Kathleen's got a firm grip on the theatrical side, dude. I know these people are dreaming about.
Well, here's my question. Is now okay? So Iger is the one who had said that they were gonna pull it back, after Solo, and that was 3.5 years ago. And by the way, today is like the 5th anniversary of Rogue One.
Oh, wow!
So damn. I know, right? Which means Carrie Fisher's sad passing is a couple days away.
Jesus.
But yeah, people were talking about that today as being like, holy shit, 5 years, it's the best one. it's 5 years and we still don't have a fucking trailer for Andor. What the hell? But anyway,
Yeah.
whatever on that one. But I think it's like they've got to give us something here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because clearly I don't think the Rogue Squadron movie is going into pre-production right now. I think Patty is working on Wonder Woman 3 because Warner's wants to fast track that. But I'm sorry. But my question then is, because I got sidetracked in my own brain. So Iger is the one who put the kibosh on the yearly films, pushed it back to 2023.
Yeah.
Do you think Chapek is going to hold to that, or is he going to increase the kind of the type of movie? Like, are we going to see more films coming out faster? Because we know that Chapek is an IP guy, and with the failings, look, I was be fair, the Galactic Star Cruiser is tanking in any kind of brand recognition. People are canceling their. I mean, it's not looked at in the positive at all. Positive Star Wars YouTubers are like, what the fuck is this thing? And they're like, even I'm deflated. I'm like, I was like looking at trying to raise the money to go. And then I'm like, I don't know, no, man, like, it's all good. I'm just not gonna, I'll wait a while for them to kind of sort it out a little bit. But with the fact that Batu is a bookend, right? It's a bookend for the sequel trilogy. And it was and I think again, they rolled it out at the wrong time. As do you foresee like Chapek coming on in and going like, hey, let's revamp Batu to be High Republic. Let's build up High Republic to get people to our theme parks, and then go from there.
Yeah, he is going to speed things up in terms of Star Wars films. Is what I've been hearing as well. They made a mistake with Rise of Skywalker. Solo was a good film. I think that was just the wrong timing.
Solo should have been a Christmas release. It really should have been. Because I love Solo. I mean, even with his problems, and as big of a Phil Lord and Chris Miller fan as I am, I went into Solo cautiously optimistic. I walked out going, holy fucking shit, give me more. Give me more right now. Beam it in, because of Maul. I mean, like, Maul was a big sell for me, but I also really I've watched it multiple times since then. Alden Ehrenreich did a great job. I liked Woody Harrelson. I liked Andy Newton. I liked Jon Favreau. Obviously Favreau. And then you've got like Emilia Clarke and everything else. And it's like, I would like to spend Donald Glover. Fuck yeah, dude. I want to spend more time in that particular world with these characters. And I would hope that, I don't know how well the movie did on VOD or on home video sales. And I don't know how well it did on Netflix, but I do know that a lot of people discovered it on Netflix. So with any luck, they'll give us more with that. But I mean, you're right. Solo was an underrated film.
It was. And it's a shame because didn't that come out after Black Panther and all that? I mean, I remember being tight with money when that came out. Like, I only saw it once.
Well, the problem with Solo, so it came out 6 months after the Last Jedi. Yeah. So that was definitely a problem. Yeah. It came out. So you had the Black Panther. You had Infinity War came out at the end of April 2018. Yep. Not only that, but like Deadpool jumped ahead 2 weeks. Deadpool was originally going to open a week after.
Oh, that's right.
Solo, and then Deadpool jumped ahead. And so Deadpool's opening weekend made like 80 some million. Its second weekend, it did 44 million, where Solo only did like 83 million. Imagine if there was no Deadpool 2 that weekend, Solo would have easily crossed 100 million, 110 million, no problem. And it would have been seen vastly different. But Deadpool did fundamentally cut into the box office take home of Solo. And also, the other part of that is the fact that it came out on Memorial Day weekend, which at that time had generally been seen as a failure of a weekend, and Disney had tried multiple times to put films out then, and they failed to connect. It wasn't until Aladdin a year later that they actually were able to drop a film on Memorial Day weekend that hit $1 billion. So it was going through a slump for a number of years. And then the one movie that like nobody wanted ended up being pretty decent and grossing $1 billion. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot lot of factors that went into that at the time. It's not just the movie was woke and it was terrible. It's, you have to look at like the box office and the response to it at the time. And there was also, I will admit, Mikey, I played my hand, my part in that disinformation campaign.
Yeah.
Because I was criticizing Solo, leading from The Last Jedi, leading up to the release of the movie, to an extent. And I was like, well, no, like, is Solo, well, I wasn't maybe outright hating on it. I was cautiously optimistic. I wasn't too sure what to feel. And then, but I was still really angry about The Last Jedi. And so then when, I saw the first trailer, I was like, okay. And then I started kind of like warming up to it a little bit as time went on. But when I got a call from a friend of mine who is not an internet person, and he calls me up and he's like, what's this I'm hearing about Solo sucking? And this is a week before the movie came out. And I'm like, dude, no one's seen the movie yet. We don't know. And he's like, but it's all over the internet. And that again, which crowd was the one really pushing that narrative? And when you look at that crowd and the fact that they get reported on in Cosmic Book News and Bounding Into Comics and Bleeding Fool, and all of those outlets are also in Google News and Smart Feed and Facebook News. Well, Facebook News at the time.
Yeah,
you can start to see how, again, the proliferation of that negativity spreads, especially if it's Star Wars and coming off of The Last Jedi. So it's very fascinating to see where it goes on that. But I mean, do you think like they're just gonna stick to theatrical for the High Republic, or are we gonna get anything on Disney Plus?
No, you're gonna get both, but the main High Republic IPs will be a theatrical, like a trilogy. They want something really fresh. They believe that kind of distance from what we've seen before. They're really trying to get that younger generation. They feel what they're seeing with Star Trek. They feel that Star Trek has become like an old person's property now, and they don't want that to happen with Star Wars.
But the thing is, Star Trek isn't an old person's property. Old people are just bitching about the new Trek. That's what it is.
I know. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's just like, well, this isn't my Star Trek. Yeah, but like, how different was, like, I mean, it's just like, again, it's kind of like, these stories evolve over time.
Yeah.
And the people, it's the thing with it is, it's the people out there, again, the boomers, the fucking boomers. And they're just like, I don't want shit to change. And there are people like, I called Robert Meyer Burnett a boomer. And he's like, I'm not a boomer. I'm not boomer age. I'm like, nah, dude, you're boomer age. Shut the fuck up. Like,
he really hates a new Trek. I mean, I've never.
Yeah, he hates it. I know he hates it. And it ain't perfect. I don't, but there are people out there that like it because to them, that is, it espouses the ideas that Roddenberry had put through the original. There's been some things that I'm like, okay with or whatever. But at the same time, I mean, like I still don't like DS9. Never did. Never cared for DS9. But people will tell me, no, it's the best fucking one. I'm all like, I don't know, man. Like TNG was the shit. Voyager was pretty good.
I love TNG. Yeah.
I could never get into DS9. And it's like, again, that wasn't my jam. There's a lot of, at the time in the 90s, there was a lot of Star Trek for everybody. So that was good.
Yeah.
But now it's like, look, there's generations are different. Their values are different, but we're seeing a younger generation now that is far more progressive, far more understanding of different, people's ideologies and genders, and maybe not ideologies, but definitely genders and sexual orientations and things like that. But again, it's like, but those things are always going to change depending on the time that you look at that. Remember, like entertainment reflects the world around us in those moments. They're snapshots. Like how many Cold War comedies were there from the 70s and 80s? Like tons of Cold War comedies, Stripes, Spies Like Us, just to name a couple. Those wouldn't be made today. I mean, go back to Pauly Shore's In the Army Now, that was mocking, Operation Desert Storm.
Oh God!
Back in the early 90s and everything else, like it just, we always mock what's going on through entertainment, and it's always reflective of the world around us, and that changes with the writers. I mean, to give you guys, there's a quote that I love that I think it's from like one of the creators of The Simpsons, who had said, that The Simpsons has been around so long that there are writers that grew up watching The Simpsons that are now writing The Simpsons. And
Well,
that
it's
just
like 33 years, right? And it's been around for a long time.
yeah, it's been around for a long time. So a lot of people are they're coming at it with different perspectives, and I think what it boils down to is there's this fear, there's an absolute fear that many people have about change and stories that change and it's look, the thing is, man, change is scary. It's scary.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta you gotta kind of approach it from the perspective of sometimes things change, different people run it, different people are involved, and they want to tell a different kind of story. You can either like attempt to look at it from the perspective of which they're trying to espouse, or you can reject it. But the rejecting it without good reason, just summarizing it as woke or whatever, it's not an example. It's not a reason. It's not an argument. It comes across as just childish and ridiculous and dumb. And that ends up where people end up mocking you for it. I'm not to say this shit's good and you should just accept it. Not at all. Criticize it to your heart's content, but come up with valid arguments as to why you don't like it. That's kind of that, and that's my biggest thing with the Fandom Menace and Midnight's Edge and all those guys, because it's like they jump to conclusions, especially with Cameron Pasha. They jump to conclusions and they treat it as if it is fact.
Yeah, and I got some things to announce on your show tonight.
Sure. Before we do that, there's like a bunch of super chats I want to get through real quick.
Sure. Sure.
Just because I it's a good convo, but I don't want to I don't want to
Of course,
anything.
definitely.
Command here with 5 more bucks. Thanks, buddy. He says 40K is decently mainstream in South Korea. So does, who's a good animator, as Korean, but it doesn't have Chinese audiobooks yet, only German and English so far. Yeah, I would actually probably argue that because of the concept of maybe what 40K is, I don't know if it would get into China. Although, well, then again, it's all about the emperor and imperialism, and that's kind of China, so, could do well. But yeah, it eventually should get there, 100%. Rational here with $5. Thanks, buddy. Says, I think the ship for China is slowly sailing if the Xi regime is going to be future, since they slowly want to ban Western media. The thing is, they still want money. And so what will happen is it will be the same thing that happened in World War II when American companies were banned from selling products to Germany. They'll just rebrand under a new company and sell it manufactured elsewhere and ship it in. Like, remember that like the Enigma machine was manufactured by IBM. Was it Hugo Boss designed the Nazi apparel, the uniforms? And then fucking Fanta, the Coca-Cola was selling Fanta in Germany because they couldn't sell Coke there. So they made Fanta. So, people will always find a way. Capitalism will always find a way. If there is money to be made, there is money to be made. But all they care about for China, though, is it's not so much the Western media. They just don't want effeminate men and video games. That's really, you've heard about that, right, Mikey?
Yeah, with Shang-Chi, right? They found that Simu Liu was too feminine or something like that.
Well, they also just recently put a cap on like kids under 18, how many hours of games they can play. And then they also want to start banning like effeminate men off of television. And I've said, and they also upped it from 2 children to 3 children. So they're allowing people to have another child. And I'm like, oh shit, dude, this is a generational thing. They're really trying to like build up the troops. They want to have an army in 25 years. They want to have some kind of force in 25 years. And video games and apparently effeminate men are in the way of that, I guess. I don't know. It's all going to be like drone warfare. That is, unless like the fucking Chinese are going to like march into Russia and like just take on the commies. Like, fuck it. See what happens. Putin will be out of the way by then. We'll have to wait and see. So thank you very much for that, Rational. I appreciate that, buddy. Command unit here with 30 shekels, $10. Thank you, man. Thank you guys. 40K did it good. They told the story of the Reign of Blood era, so 5,000 years in the past, where the church was gaining political power in the Imperium, and it explored the internal politics of the Imperium. See, that's the thing too, is I think if they go backwards and he's talking, obviously connection to Star Wars. If they do go back and they try to, again, the politics have to mean something. And if the politics are interesting enough, then it will sell. I mean, Game of Thrones, right? Everyone likes Game of Thrones for like the blood and titties, but the politics of Game of Thrones is the primary draw. It's the intrigue of that. That's the bedrock of those kind of shows. The gore and the boobs, that's just icing on the cake. In some cases, literally. So thank you for that. Really appreciate that, buddy. Another $5 from here from Command Unit says they need to make the High Republic distinct from the rest of Star Wars, like the prequel films and the Clone Wars era. Yeah. And they do, but what they need to do is I think those are more designed to be like kind of like Western, like it's more like Western expansion is how I view it. I could be wrong, but it's like, how it is when like we see like the old Westerns, like we're just a town out here on the frontier, looking for gold and just, branding my cattle. Like that's kind of how I view like the High Republic, where they're just like the Jedi are expanding outward. Like they're kind of patrolling the outer rim. It's always the outer rim. But like that's kind of how I view it. And if it's just like, if they treat it like it's a Western, again, this is a space Western, this shit's a space Western. It always has been. And I mean, just imagine like a lone Jedi, like walking into, a town and it's all like the spurs and, out of there, partner, what can I help you with? And they're
that's Mandalorian right there.
Oh yeah, shit, it is. But a Jedi. Jedi.
Yeah. Yep.
But at the same time, man, give me Mando. I just want Mando to come back so bad. I want to see it so bad. But I agree that they do need to make it distinct, and that would require, I think, a very distinct vision from a very distinct filmmaker, and not someone like J.J. Abrams, and not someone like Rian Johnson. They can't let Rian Johnson anywhere near Star Wars again. Now, I guess my question is, have you heard anything about Johnson?
I haven't heard anything of him being there with them going forward with his project. All I've been hearing that is High Republic, and then there's something else I want to discuss with you tonight as well.
Sure. We've got a couple more to get to, and then we can get to that. Yeah. So, but anyway, if you guys haven't already, check out geekositymag.com. Mikey's got all the scoops up there. And this is the only show where he drops Star Wars stuff, so we feel very I signed him to an exclusivity contract. No.
Yeah, we have a history now. We have a history now. Going back to Lando. So
going back to Lando. So go to the Rogues Gallery, drop all of your Zaslav praise over there. None of that here.
Sabine Wren, I was dropped on your show as well. And that's
you did. That's true. You did. And then Rational here for $2 says Feige's trilogy could be the Yuzan Vong. Maybe. I mean, that's something. Obviously if they're, doing something with a Thrawn, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe, but that's also Feige Filoni thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if Feige is going to want to, Favreau Filoni. I don't know if Feige, the three Fs, I get the three Fs are the new Holy Trinity, by the way. Feige, Filoni, Favreau, right?
Yeah,
think about
Fs,
that.
right?
The three Fs. That would be like the holy golden trilogy or trinity of Star Wars execs. But but I think they're building up Thrawn, obviously, because I think Dave Filoni likes Thrawn. And then who knows where they're going to want to go after that. But all right, Jess here says Solo was good, but the actor did not have a Han Solo field. He felt like a Star-Lord. See, the thing with that is it's the subtleties of Alden Ehrenreich's performance that you got to pay attention to. You know what I mean? Like, I know he didn't, he was, it's very difficult to do something like that, because the idea essentially is not that you're going to have someone who mimics Harrison Ford perfectly, because then it would be too similar and people would not be happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Caricature,
Yeah. So in this case, you got to have someone who kind of embodies the style, the idea, and can make it and can pull it off. And I think Alden, again, it's the mannerisms, you got to pay attention to the little mannerisms, and he nailed Harrison Ford in a number of ways. And I think, again, he, like that line about when he says like my Wookiee is rusty. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
when they fight, like that was. I mean, that's totally a Phil Lord and Chris Miller line, by the way.
It
But
sounds like it, yeah.
it definitely felt like something Han Solo would also say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and it just worked out. Again, every time I'm an ardent Solo defender.
I
I will
am too.
all
I really
yeah.
enjoyed the film. I mean,
Oh yeah,
before Mandalorian, it had that old school Star Wars feel to it. Before Mando came out, that film had that feel
it
of
did.
a New Hope, right? I mean,
Yeah, it did. I mean, like Solo, just I think there's stuff I would have loved to have seen different.
yeah,
But and I would have loved to have seen what Phil Lord and Chris Miller were doing with it. But at the end of the day, the action was pretty good. I really enjoyed the movie. I had fun watching it,
yeah,
and it's like that in Rogue One were excellent spinoffs. And
yeah.
you know what? We're getting the Andor, so we're getting the Lando show, so let's get some Alden Ehrenreich back, baby. I mean, look. The thing is, they're doing a lot with Kira in the comics, and I have a feeling after Secret Invasion that Amelia Clark might be migrating away. Now, don't say if you have anything on that one. Don't say anything yet because we're not there yet. But I'm just
Yeah.
putting out my speculation.
Yeah.
McLeod here for 10 Canadian. Thank you, buddy. Says they have the Acolyte TV series coming on Disney Plus. It takes place during the tail
Yeah.
end of the High Republic era. Also, Trek hasn't fucking changed. It's just the stories / social commentaries have changed. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes totally sense. Yeah.
You know, yeah, it makes a lot of sense there. And again, it's kind of funny how like people get really upset at like, gay people in Star Trek, but they're like totally okay with like Kirk nailing a non-human, right?
Well, didn't they have the lesbian kiss on Deep Space Nine, and that was controversial at the time? But
The
they,
90s, man. Fucking 90s.
there you go, the 90s.
It's like when Ellen came out on her show.
That's
That was a
true,
big
yeah.
deal. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, Ellen is gay," and you're like, "You're just now realizing." I mean, it wasn't that difficult. Wasn't that difficult. However, I do agree with Jack here. It says, "Just give us Obi-Wan. We all want Obi-Wan."
Oh God. You know what, Matt? I've been hearing great things about Obi-Wan, by the way. So
I am.
I think it's gonna go down really well. You know what I've been hearing, Matt, is Hayden Christensen really is good in that series.
And that is weird to say
Yeah.
because like his performance in those other films were like, there. I don't want to say they were all. I feel like there was animosity in Attack of the Clones and
Yeah.
and Revenge of the Sith, and I think Revenge of the Sith was like was the best one of the prequel trilogy. It's a very good movie. Oh, we lost Mikey for a second.
No, I love Revenge of the Sith. I mean, go see a film called Shattered Glass with Hayden Christensen because that's really where I finally saw his acting abilities. But I heard he's rock solid in Obi-Wan. That he's gonna get a lot of praise.
I think it all boils down to like to the director. I think Deborah Chow will be able to like pull out that performance. It's not that see, the thing is like Lucas he's not an actor's director. He's a special effects director.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the big issue with that, I think.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see like Obi-Wan. I think that's going to melt the internet more than whatever's coming on Tuesday night at midnight over on Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Or also on Monday night at 10:30 p.m. when the social media reactions drop for Spider-Man. Ooh, that's going to be big. But we got Shogun Order here for $5, buddy. Thank you. Says Anthony Intruder literally played a young Harrison Ford in another movie. It was freaky good. See, the thing is, yes, Anthony Intruder did do a really good job. The problem with that, though, is it's too similar. And I know people like that's what I was saying is that because it was too similar and he did a very good job, it will screw you up when you're watching it. Trust me, it's not like the same thing. It sounds good, but it's not good. It's kind of like, we watched that guy recently do that, the Robin short film, that was like meant to be like a biopic of when he found out that John Belushi died. And did you see that clip at all, Mikey?
No, I don't think I saw that one.
I'll have to send it to you. It's super fucking good. The guy nailed Robin Williams mannerisms really well.
Oh wow.
And it was super good. And this guy's like an impressionist kind of. He did actually, I think, an Obi-Wan short film as well. And people were like then begging for him to do Robin Williams in a Robin Williams biopic. And it's like, that would be good because it's like, it looks like Robin, it sounds like Robin, but it's not Robin, you can do the disconnect because you have to do a disconnect in those situations. Unless they were going to de-age Harrison Ford, having someone like Anthony Ingruber who is a good actor and looks the part, it would not do well. I'm telling you that right now. I know that sounds weird and people out there are not going to believe me, but that is legitimately the truth. Our brains wouldn't work with us. Yeah. And then he says Anthony Ingruber. Yeah, I know who you meant, Shogun. Thank you very much, Manny.
Okay, so that's the name. Okay, I was wondering, like, wait on the intruder.
Yeah, yeah, and Anthony Ingruber. Yeah,
Okay.
no, he's yeah. See, Makeup Potastic agrees. Anthony Ingruber as Han would have been awful. He's an impressionist, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and then again, you know who found Alden Ehrenreich? Who discovered him? Spielberg.
Wow.
Spielberg found him. He met Alden at a birthday party and liked Alden back when he first met him. So Alden got his start because he met Spielberg at a birthday party.
What a chance meeting of all people to meet, right? Like, oh my God.
I'd be all like,
I had a birthday party. Oh, what? Spielberg's here? You know?
Yeah, I mean, Degrassi here says they didn't hire the better Mando Luke deepfake guy for nothing. No, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true. I mean, the thing is, like, they hired that guy clearly because he did some better work on that. And that's definitely, I mean, it's going to come in. And I'll say this: as much as I enjoyed seeing the Luke come back, I think I would have rather preferred it being Sebastian Stan. Just because that would have established in my mind, this is the Luke going forward.
Yeah.
And now if they bring back Luke again, it's kind of like they're going to have to end up bringing him back. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know what they're going to do with it. Maybe you know a thing or two. I don't know what's going on with any of that stuff.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure that out myself. I haven't gotten if they made a decision on, because you're going to see Luke again, obviously, but I don't know if they're going to deep fake Hamill again or if they're going to actually have Sebastian Stan in there. Of course, I'll break it on your show first once I get.
That's how it works because it brings pain to the fandom ass.
Exactly. Oh, this will bring pain. What I'm about to bring up. So.
Ooh, bring the pain, Daddy. Wait.
Oh God, yeah, this will bring pain. So, a couple of things, Matt. Are they still going off on that delete? They're going to delete the new trilogy because that's really beyond the realm of possibility.
So I really feel that with the news that Kathleen Kennedy has retained her position as president of Lucasfilm, the argument that they're going to retcon the sequel trilogy is probably officially dead. And I love that the rumor made its way around for a long time. Never mind. Yeah. What was it? What episode of Mando season 2 did we see Snoke, an early clone of Snoke, in a cloning tank, right? And then his theme played. I mean, or the fact at the end of the first season of the Bad Batch, there's a whole lot going on with people from Camino. There's some shit going down. Obviously, cloning is where they're taking things. And I mean, wasn't that again the whole point of them trying to get Baby Yoda in the first season? Right? They wanted to get the midichlorians because they wanted to clone something. Gee, I wonder what that could have been. I wonder what they were doing with that all the way back in 2019. But it's just this, I mean, everything he says on that one too. I'll tell you this. There's actually a really good, I can't believe I'm going to fucking say this. There's a really good, we got this covered article.
Whoa.
that actually broke down all of the things Doomcock said was going to end up retconning the sequel trilogy, right? And I'm just
great misses, right?
Yeah, and I'm just sitting there reading this, going like, "You fuckers lack all self-awareness at this point in time," but I'm here for it, because they actually called it out. They call out the fact that all of this is just the same new way of getting back around to the same conclusion, where it's just like Disney's gonna get rid of something that made them almost $5 billion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and a large part of that too is they don't want to. I mean, Carrie Fisher's legacy is her last, scenes she ever filmed were in those movies as well. I mean, that's part of it, but also, Matt, they all the money they spent on those movies, all the money they made from these films, High Republic is where they're going. They're not going to go back. Yeah,
oh yeah.
uh,
Oh my yeah. I mean the High Republic is clearly
mm,
where they want to take it.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
can spend a long time there. They can spend
yeah,
time theatrically in the
yeah.
High Republic building up to the Phantom Menace. And then they can give us all that time on Disney Plus building up to the sequel trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Creating that through line. And I know people out there are going to get upset because here's the thing. What if one day, what if they actually make up for the sequel trilogy by giving us enough backstory and lore that it all
Mm-hmm.
kind of clicks and makes sense. And then we all go,
Yeah.
wow, maybe we were just wrong. And I'll tell you, I'm going to hate that. I probably will hate that because I'm like, don't make me like The Last Jedi. I still can't do it. I
No, I
still
think
can't
never
do it.
will. You won't. I don't think it's they can't salvage that mess. That they no.
They're just like, we're gonna do. We're just gonna like release this new version of the
Yeah.
Last Jedi where we cut out all of Canto Bight. Okay, cool. I'm good with that.
Well, here's the thing about the way that they're set up right now. Um, so the good news is, I mean, Filoni and Favreau have their own playground on Disney Plus. You're not going to see much interference with from Kathleen Kennedy. They're very happy with everything they've done so far. Like Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, they're very, very pleased with how those turned out. And they're very pleased with how people accepted them. I mean, Mandalorian basically saved Star Wars. Let's face it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
he
mean,
was dead.
even my girlfriend, we're talking about Mandalorian the other day, and
Yeah,
she's like, have you seen the toy aisle at Costco? And I'm
yeah,
like, yeah. She's like, it's all Baby Yoda. I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
yeah.
So kids are buying it. Kids are buying it. So I mean that money right there means they're going to keep giving us Baby Yoda. I read a thing today that said that Baby Yoda is going to pop up in another Star Wars. It's going to come back again in a cameo, but we just don't know where.
Hmm.
So I mean, like obviously there's money in Baby Yoda. They're not going to ditch it.
Well, let me give you an example, Matt, in terms of how it's working. Um, Obviously, Kathleen Kennedy still has to put her stamp of approval on everything. She's the president. If but Favreau and Filoni have a lot of leeway in terms of there's so much faith in those two right now that something has to be like really bad for for her to say, you know what, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. There is a Cad Bane series in development right now.
Shut the fuck up.
And Kathleen Kennedy did not say, you know what, we can't do that. It's too obscure. No, it's the Cad Bane's in development as
Hold on.
a
Live action or animated?
no, it's live action.
That's
As a
wow.
as a spin-off of Mandalorian.
Are we
Kind of
are we going to see Cad and Book of Boba Fett?
you might because this development with the character, I just don't think he might have thin air. I think they're already. If he's not in Book of Boba Fett, he's going to show up soon somewhere because for them to get to the development stage, they already have him planned to appear somewhere. Is what I'm saying that.
Well, when he came back in the Bad Batch, like that literally, like that
Yeah,
was a huge deal to like the
yeah.
Clone Wars fans. I mean, it's one of those ones where I wish I had my camera on while I was watching the episode. I was
Hmm.
literally like pumping the air. I was like, yes, fucking
Yeah,
Cat Bane, yeah.
yeah,
And then the next episode where he fought Fennec Shand was like fucking awesome.
yeah.
So I was like Cad Bane, yeah. Oh God, sorry, I'm like a huge Cad Bane fan.
Hey, Matt, if I really wanted to be on your show, there's a good reason for it. That's really why I'm here.
Yeah, it's a totally. Oh, hey, that James guy's here. What's up, dude? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, dude, how's it going? Uh,
Yeah.
but
Sorry, go
so
ahead.
here's the funny part. Here's the part it's gonna enrage some people if this goes to fruition. Okay, um, so Kathleen Kennedy apparently has, and I don't know if there is a particular book this is attached to or property or whatever. Um, but she's been toying around the idea of a how do I describe this? female-heavy Star Wars film.
Okay.
And like, or not necessarily all female, but mostly female Star Wars film. And now, can you imagine what Doomcock would do if he got a hold of that information, or if months from now it's announced that it's in development, they have a name for it or whatever? Because I keep thinking of, you remember what happened after Endgame when they had all the female superheroes pose in that one scene.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole speculation about the A-Force film where it's all females and everything.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
hearing about that briefly right after
Yeah,
Endgame came out. Yeah.
yeah. So can you imagine if they did a Star Wars version of that? Can you imagine the fury?
Well, I mean, like, okay, so the season 2 finale of Mandalorian essentially had that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Where
yeah,
you had Bo and you had Kara, and then
Yep.
you had Sasha Banks' character, whose name I forget, and
Yeah.
and then Fennec, and they were fucking shit up. I mean, they were
Oh, yeah.
fucking shit up, and it was
Yeah.
awesome. And then I was like, and then the thing is though, is that felt earned. That felt really earned.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Whereas in Endgame, it felt kind of like, and I think they also acknowledge it was a little bit on
Yeah.
the Force side. But
Yeah.
whatever. I'm not gonna split hairs over it. You roll your eyes
Yeah.
at it. You move on with your day.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, again, like there was that conversation back at the end of, and this is where I think Gina fucked up. But I don't want to go down that pathway. It's like
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Like you could have had like that whole thing right there. Those 4 ladies go off and do their own thing, and no one would be upset about it. So I think they got to earn it, right? At this point, they got to like establish it and earn it.
Well, I think what happened with that speculation or discussions, I think the Marvels, the Captain Marvel sequel, the Marvels, I think is what became of that. Is what, because they're going to have the 3 Captain Marvel related female characters in the film. Miss Marvel, you have Monica Rambeau from WandaVision, and Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And I think that was what they were originally going to do with those females that were in Endgame, and I think that idea branched off into the Marvels. Like, hey, you know what? We can kind of do that with the sequel to Captain Marvel. But I can only imagine the backlash, Matt, if this materializes. And not talking about Rangers of the Rangers of the Republic or whatever they were called, that project that was called back then, but to have new female characters or whatever in a kind of a female fronted Star Wars film. I don't think this crowd would appreciate it too much. But
Well, I
that's
mean,
where
like if it's like Ahsoka or something, like I could
yeah,
see.
that'd be awesome, right? Yeah.
But then I mean, they're doing the limited series show, and I mean,
Yeah.
how often is Rosario Dawson going to be? Why would Rosario Dawson just do that to go to a movie? I don't know. So that's kind of odd. I don't know. I mean, what other characters could there potentially be? I mean,
Yeah, I don't think it's anybody on Disney Plus. What I'm hearing, Matt, is that they want to Disney Plus. They want to keep it on Disney Plus, and they have theatrical. Be more of an event film where these characters you have to wait to see them in theaters. Is how they're playing Star Wars right now. Unlike Marvel Studios are kind of going back and forth, where you're going to see Miss Marvel on Disney Plus, and you'll see her in the Marvels.
yeah.
So yeah, it's a different type of thing you're doing here.
Well, I mean, that should be something interesting.
Yeah.
I hate to break it up. I saw this. I just want to quickly address it.
Uh-huh.
I hate to say this. Anne Rice has passed away.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
That is
Yeah.
that's really tragic. Anne Rice, I mean, obviously massively influential author, and well loved in the literary community, and
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like the mother of modern vampires, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And even they're getting ready to reboot they're doing another Interview with the Vampire series. So that's really unfortunate. I just happened to this was just
That's
sent to me.
really, really sad.
Yeah.
I think Interview with a Vampire. I think that was rejected by a lot of publishers. I'm sure they regret not publishing her book. And she's a legend. What can you say? I mean, she's a total legend.
Oh yeah. Yeah. One of my coworkers, former coworkers, read her I think it was like her Cinderella BDSM story or some shit like that. She wrote a really dark, like adult erotica book apparently. And like my friend had to like stop reading it. It was so graphic. So Anne Rice was a dirty, dirty lady. But hey, no, but I say that with love. I say that with love. No, that's really, I mean, that's really sad that she passed away. I mean, you know, it happens to everybody. I just wanted to let you guys know that. Anyway, yeah. And then also Makeup Potastic says, I'm still reeling over the death of Michael Nesmith yesterday. Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, that was really sad. Cause I mean, I grew up listening to the Monkees and then also watching the Monkees TV show.
Yep.
Because they played it on like channel 12. So whatever that was back then, but they played it at like noon, you know, they played it at noon and then it was followed by like Perry Mason. So like I would watch Monkees with my friends and then we'd watch Perry Mason because that's all there was to watch in the middle of the day during the summer.
Well, I didn't grow up on the Beatles. I grew up on the Monkees. I watched the show. I loved their car. You know.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I get that. It's, you know, people always say it's the Stones versus the Beatles when in reality it's the Monkees versus the Beatles.
Oh hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That James guy though did drop a $5 Canadian super chat. Thank you. Says this is to remind Mikey he has to write tonight.
Oh yeah, I know James. I'm on it.
Don't worry. We'll let him go here pretty soon.
Yeah, I usually write articles like 4 a.m. Thankfully, you know, James usually awake by that time.
Yeah, well, because like you'll DM me like at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm passed out. I wake up and I got like 5 messages from Mikey, and then I look at the timestamp. I'm like, go to bed, old man. What the fuck are you doing? Like I'm asleep. What are you doing? You know, and then usually Mikey's like, oh yeah, hold on, I have like this new article and this new article, and he just like DMs me his articles. I'm like, all right, man, I read them. Just calm your tits. I'm in the group, Mikey. But
yeah, yeah. People wonder if I sleep or not. Like, no, I do sleep, but just 4 or 5 in the morning. So.
Yeah, no, that's honest to God. If I didn't have kids, that's exactly when I'd be going to bed. If I did not have my 2 daughters, that's when I'd be going to bed too. I'd sleep till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it would be fucking glorious.
Well, I feel like my articles are my kids, so they can't sleep, so I gotta burp them and stuff.
Oh yeah. No, I get that. I understand that entirely. And then also Simon here with $2 says Bill Nighy to play Cad Bane. That would be.
Oh yeah.
I think he could embody the characterization of Cad Bane.
Yeah.
But like the physical activity of Cad, because Cad he's a gunslinger and he's a fighter, but we don't know how old he is, and we're gonna probably figure that out. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with all that stuff. Jess here says, ew, you like the Monkees, they don't write their own songs. LOL.
Well, Neil Diamond wrote some of their songs and a bunch of other very talented people. So
James here says, I don't want to be waiting until 6 a.m. again for your writing.
It's okay, James. I know you'll wake up by that time.
Oh yeah. And then Commander here says, reminder to take your 40K pill. I'm gonna watch it, dude. We'll watch it. I'll watch it before I go tonight. Is there anything else you had, or
no?
I don't know.
I think I've caused enough damage for tonight.
Yeah. So you guys heard it here first. The 109 of you who are here right now, Kathleen Kennedy is developing a female-centric Star Wars story.
Yeah, they're in talks. Yeah, they're discussing it. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know anything more than that. So we'll see what happens from there.
So if Midnight's Edge or Doomcock runs with the story and they do not credit him on this show, let him know. Let him know. Hollywood After Dark. Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid of Huad? Just embrace the Huad. It's a fun time. Had by all. And then also Marcus here was asking if John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are still in the running for Fantastic Four. Well,
Edward Lauder from Small Screen said that his source is telling him that they're going to cast unknowns for the FF. I haven't heard anything since Krasinski was still in the game. I know Blunt turned it down, which is not too surprising, but I don't know. Maybe Krasinski was like, you know what, I'm gonna just focus on my own things right now, and maybe she convinced him that that's other things that he can do. So we'll see where this goes. I do know, Matt, that they're gonna. And I had an article on this, and both Edward and I both said the same thing, that the announcement is imminent, like as in by New Year, right around New Year, you're gonna find out who they are. Um, and I think that might have to do with No Way Home.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, well, oh, that was the other thing too. I was gonna the news that's kind of coming out today
yeah.
is that apparently the what is it? The trailer, I think this is the one right here. Yeah, here we go. So viewer anon, definitely, because he's definitely an inside scooper as well.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
He says here that cinema reviewed sources are proud to report that the teaser for trailer for Doctor Strange will actually be the second post-credit scene in Spider-Man No Way Home. We do not know when the trailer will be publicly released. What's really funny about this is Reviewed Cinema is actually another account of big screen leaks.
Oh, okay.
So they just confirmed their own source. Is what I'm hearing. I don't know how true that is. Low Dog for the 99-cent super sticker. Thanks a lot, buddy. Really appreciate that. So yeah, so I mean, there's that right there, but it makes sense that they were going to drop it after the fact. And I was always saying that too. I think I said that before. I'm like, no, they're going to, if it makes, maybe I said it internally, but I'm like, it makes more sense to put the Doctor Strange 2 teaser after the movie, because if the stories are linked up, there's going to be spoilers in the trailer for Doctor Strange 2.
Well, that's something I brought up on Phil's show tonight. I think I've been wondering about is if we've been chasing the wrong tree with. I mean, Andrew and Toby are going to be in it. We know that that's just going to happen. But what if Sony really wanted us to keep dwelling on them and they have something else in store for us at the end of No Way Home? And something to do with Doctor Strange. I mean,
yeah. I mean, obviously that's the big one. I think that's the next big one, because that's going to be their May release, and that's going to kick off the summer season. And they, I think, what was it? The Russo brothers had said that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to kind of take over the heart of the MCU in the wake of Iron Man dying.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Holland's kind of like trying to downplay that a little bit, because there's been those reports this week, like, oh, he's gonna retire from acting here.
Yeah, no, he's
like,
not.
whatever, dude. He's got Uncharted coming out. That's a whole other fucking franchise. Like, like they're gonna heavily promote it with No Way Home, and then people might go see it. It's just, I don't know. It's just been nothing but bullshit. Coming out of Comic Book Cast 2, at least.
Oh God, no. Of all places. Although he did credit me a few times, so I gave him Armin. Oh, God.
Armin is an interesting guy. I like to give him a hard time. But I think, Tom ain't going anywhere.
No.
And clearly they have a plan. At this point, Sony and Marvel have a plan. I think that's abundantly clear that they have a plan, and that they're working in tandem with one another.
Yeah.
Or in lockstep, or however you want to say it. But they're working together, because I think, they don't want to have a repeat of 2019.
Yeah.
They just don't. And then at this point, they're going to take it. They're going to move forward with it. And then, we're going to get a lot of content. I think we know Kraven the Hunter is on the horizon. Morbius is on the horizon. Venom 3 is happening, I think, with probably Tom Holland. You know?
Yeah. No, he's in it.
So it's like, is he going to be like, I mean, imagine a Spider-Man Venom movie is going to, like, that's going to blow shit up. Like, if you think No Way Home is going to blow shit up, I'm just saying, it's like, as cool as Toby and Andrew would be to see, if they are somehow able to give us the Maximum Carnage storyline.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's.
I mean,
wipe everything in its path.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing.
Not only that, Matt, but a Kevin Feige produced Venom, I think it's just, it's gonna light it up.
Oh yeah, well, if that's what they do, I mean, anything, we don't know yet. Anything could happen here. Real quick here, hold on. Low Dog for 19.99 super chat, man. Thank you so much. Says Anne Rice is my favorite her vampire blocked were I think books were fire, and her witches were good too. It's a shame they never made a true live action version of her work. Shake my head, rip. Yeah, man. I mean, adaptations of some of those things are kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
But I really feel that that they're working on. I know they're doing Interview with the Vampire, and I'm pretty sure now. Look, I hate to say it like this, so don't take it as being disrespectful.
Hmm.
But when an author dies, their work increases in value.
Yeah.
Any artist who
Yep.
dies, their work increases in value.
Yep.
And as a result of that, I think now you're going to be, because now it's kind of like, oh my God, you might see a few things get really picked up and bought, option, put into pre-production or whatever, or development at least, in order to kind of go from there. But I mean, her son confirmed it on what it was is she passed away due to complications resulting from a stroke.
I've had two of those, so those are just absolutely horrible. That's just really sad. Man.
Yeah. And so that's she will be interred in their family's mausoleum in the Metrier Cemetery in New Orleans in a private ceremony. Next year, they will hold a celebration of her life that will take place in New Orleans, and that event will be open to the public. So if you are as impacted by the passing of Anne Rice as Low Dog is here, next year look for that New Orleans. That may be where you want to take a bit of a pilgrimage. So, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Really appreciate that. Again, I'm very sorry for your loss on this one. I really feel you. I'm sorry, man.
One of the best horror writers of all time. Some I have to get going. It's been a long night, but really enjoyed
Yeah.
being here.
No, I appreciate it, Mikey. Thank you. I know
always
it's a
fun.
bit on a somber note,
Yeah.
but I think we can celebrate the work and life of Anne Rice
Oh yeah.
and everything. I got a couple quick little things to cover just on my end that I can dip at myself afterward. But
Yeah. Okay.
but all right. Well, hey, check out Mikey, geekocitymag.com.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed being here, and take care, everybody.
Thanks a lot,
man.
Mikey. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Will do. Take care, buddy.
Thank you. All right. Mikey Sutton, everybody. Thank you very much for coming on in. Really appreciate that. So there's a couple quick little things I wanted to quickly touch upon here. Simon here real quick for $10 super chat, buddy. Thank you. Says it was The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty that was the Anne Rice erotic book. I too had a hard time finishing that book. Yeah, that's what it was. The Sleeping Beauty erotic fiction. And like my friend who was reading it was like super like happy. She's a super happy-go-lucky person, always sees the bright side of life, and like she could not finish that book. She could not finish that book. I know my girlfriend read a few of those, like those when 50 Shades came out and was doing its thing, right? She read a few of those books. I think like the Crossfire series or something. I need to ask her if she read this one. Those aren't my, I'll just tell you this right now. Those kind of stories ain't my kink. I never really got into the whole freaking BDSM stuff as it was, but thank you very much, Simon. I really appreciate that. Again, man, Anne Rice's passing is just absolutely terrible. And again, the Celebration of Life in New Orleans, next year sometime, I don't think I'll be able to attend. I'm going to, we're actually funny. My friend who passed away last month, I just found out that our friends are doing a Celebration of Life in San Diego in a couple months. So I'll be heading down there for that, to kind of say my final farewell to one of my best friends, and then to see my other friends that I haven't seen in a while. So that will be good. All I'm saying is this: it's one of those things. I'm just going to say it because I'm an empathic guy. I'm an emotional guy. Call your friends, call your family, call your loved ones. It doesn't take much to say you love them or you miss them or you're thinking about them. I think that's the best thing to do. Like I hug my kids every day. I tell them I love them. I kiss them, I big hugs, play with them all the time. I just want them to know. Like today we had my daughter, my daughters were with my parents, and went to go pick them up. My 4-year-old ran over and she's like, "Daddy!" You just like big hug. She missed me because I dropped her off this morning. When I dropped her off this morning, she didn't want me to leave and she was crying when I left, and that's very difficult. So tonight, before laying her down to go to bed, I gave her a really big hug, and I just, she squeezed me real tight, and she's like, "I love you, Daddy," and I said, "I love you and your sister so much, and thank you for being my daughters." I just want them to know that, you know, I mean, she's 4, she's not going to remember, but I just want them to know that I adore them. I love them with all my heart. They are amazing, amazing kids. And I'm so thankful that they're mine. And I hope that I can raise them right. That's what I care about. So yeah, that I'm getting kind of emotional. So anyway, but then again, to say this as well, I stream a lot here on the channel. I don't talk to each and every one of you guys all the time, but everyone, I do appreciate you. I might be a hard, stubborn bastard at times and whatever, but I do appreciate people and I do appreciate you. And I hope we can always have conversations. And I just want to say that. Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, take a lot of, dude, my phone is full of pictures of my kids. I just don't post them publicly. You know, I don't post pictures of my kids publicly. Not of their face, at least. So, okay. So let's talk about this right here. This is kind of interesting where, what you've got is this image came out today, right? People were posting this today. Thor Love and Thunder. And this is like apparently the official promo art that people were spreading around because somebody said that they had seen it like at a Walmart or something. And it looks interesting. It looks interesting. I thought something about this felt a little off. You know, it felt a little off as I was looking at it. And it turns out that it's actually not real. Taika Waititi here said in response to an MCU Direct tweet that this is so bad that I kind of wish it was an official poster. It's definitely what I would have done if I was in charge of posters. And then Brandon Davis here says, that's just what Feige would want us to believe that you believe about believing poster beliefs, which potentially it could be a thing. This could be, you know, a lot of people believe that this was kind of realistic. And it's possible that this is just all promo art and then someone just put it together. But the biggest thing for me is Thor's eyes. That's what ends up on my end and being a bit on the kind of weird side. They just look a little like the glow looks different. It doesn't look right. And that's what really kind of sets it apart. But other than that, I mean, Korg has got like a Burt Reynolds 70s porn stash. And I'm not going to lie. I'm 100% here for it. I think it's great. Also, what's up with those goats down there at the bottom? That one with the tongue out going all cray cray. That's some merch right there, folks. That's some Disney lined up merch right there. So what do you guys think about this one? Do you think it's a real? Do you think it's fake? What's going on? It's the Watcher says it's real. Butt Toucher says it's not real. Also says here, but that's the most fan art thing I've ever seen. Yvonne here says, what the hell about the goats? Yeah, that's true. Are we getting more Fat Man Thor? Alex here says, I don't think we're gonna get Fat Man Thor. I think they're gonna like no, because if you've seen him on set, he is beefed up. He's currently filming Extraction 2 right now, but before then, after finishing Thor 4, I believe he shot the Hulk Hogan biopic. So, you know, I think there was that. And so I think it's I don't think it's real. But we're not going to get more Fat Thor. McLeod says, was going to say the poster gives off a lot of He-Man vibes. Kind of does a little bit. Yeah. Not knocking it though. Not knocking it though. You know, and so Shogun here says, thank you. I'm not crazy. No, it's not. It's not a real poster. It's not a real poster. I don't think that's, you know, no, it's not a real poster. So. But it's kind of funny. Yeah, no Guardians either. That's right. But we don't know how long the Guardians are in that. They were only shooting for, I think, a week. So we don't know how long they're going to be in the movie. But it definitely feels like it's Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, heavy at times. Because isn't Thor going to be in Guardians 3 as well? So, I mean, clearly, you know, and then what was it? I saw, was it Yellow Flash had put out a video yesterday saying something along the lines of like, oh, they don't want, you know, they don't want Chris Hemsworth as Thor anymore. They don't want masculine men. And yet he's in his own movie and he's popping up in some other stuff and he's going to be around for a while. As long as those movies make money and he's available to play Thor and he's going to play Thor, they're going to keep Thor around, you know, because still it's going to be like a mentor character. They're still going to keep him around. And if the movies make money, they're not going to get rid of him. Okay, so Johnny here says Thor does own goats in mythology. Oh, okay. That's kind of funny. Let's see here. Did I hear about the creator of BoJack Horseman making comments about the double standards of Netflix? I did hear something about that. You know, and I get it. Companies are always going to have double standards. It all depends on what makes money. And it's not to say that BoJack Horseman wasn't popular for the streamer, but is it Dave Chappelle popular? That's the question. That's the question. The Watcher here says, I've been told it's real. If it's not, then someone has seen the costumes from the set. But again, bringing it up here, the image of Jane Foster right here. I mean, that, like, you know, it looks like it's comic book stuff. It you know, it looks like it's pulled from the Mighty Thor. But again, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. And then, all right, what was the last thing I had here? Oh, right. You know, I'm gonna, I might save this one for tomorrow because it's an article I want to dive into, and I don't really feel like diving into an article right now because we've been on for over 2 hours, and I'm kind of getting tired a little bit here, but that's just me. I know that let's see here, Rational Skeptic had sent me another Cameron Pasha thing, and he said, what time was it? What's the timestamp here? 14 minutes. Okay. And what exactly is going on in this? He's talking about Disney and Star Wars, I guess. Disney and Iger. All right. So if this is, well, I mean, this is also from November 26th, so it's kind of old. We'll give it a minute. We'll give it a minute watch and we'll see what he says here. Cause, I don't know what he says, and I don't know exactly how crazy it's going to get. So, hold on as we get that whole thing set up. Watch. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Should Watch. The part of the show where we take a look at what idiots say, and we kind of break it down, debunk some bullshit. So this is Mr. Cameron Pasha. The man with a little bit of bona fides in regards to stuff that he has done, but I think that's kind of where it lays, as he's done some stuff a long time ago, but that's about it. And he's talking with a guy named Liam Leonhardt, and apparently they're going to be talking about Disney and Bob Iger. I don't know what he's going to say here. This was sent to me, so let's just give it a listen.
Go forward.
Yeah, well, what it is this is unfortunately a pattern that was set in motion with the new fake Star Wars, right? When they bought Star Wars, when they bought it from Lucas, one of the biggest mistakes in corporate history for Lucas have solved it, but that's another conversation. When they bought it, when Disney bought it, in 2012, they announced that they were going to do a trilogy in the original buying press release that we purchased Star Wars. We're going to do a new trilogy. So they had to already set that in motion. And then they went ahead, as we know from Bob Iger's own book, he admits, he took George Lucas's treatments for that trilogy that were part of the purchase. He said, yeah, I'm not going to use these. Yeah, throw them out. I'm going to start all over. In fact, what I'm going to start all over is I'm going to go back to just remaking the first movie, because that's what Mr. Iger did. Mr. Iger was famous for just rebooting older stuff. That's all he felt comfortable with. Let's take The Lion King and make it live action. Let's make Aladdin and make it live action.
Okay, but he's right. However, Lion King over $1 billion, Aladdin over $1 billion, The Force Awakens $2.2 billion. I mean, say what you will about creative bankruptcy. They didn't lose any fucking money. So, that's kind of the thing here too. But all right, I mean, like, he's not wrong. Iger was doing that kind of stuff. But and Iger did pick up Lucas's treatments and then opted to not use them. Lucas wanted to go into like the midi-chlorians. He wanted to go into the quantum realm of midi-chlorians. He wanted to explore the origins of that kind of shit. Is it translatable to the big screen? I don't know. If you're going to spend 4.02 or 4.08 billion dollars for Lucasfilm, you're going to do with it what the fuck you want. And they went to Lucas, but again, Lucas is a story guy. He's a producer, but I think he was ready to get rid of Star Wars by that time. That's why he fucking sold it. But, you know, and again, like Lucas's reasoning behind it is probably never, ever, ever going to be brought up here. But, you know, that's kind of what you expect from Mr. Pasha.
He was not comfortable with exploring anything new. And the tragedy of that is that, you know, you have J.J. Abrams do this first movie, which I was fine with. I enjoyed it. I never saw it a second time. It's the only Star Wars film I had never seen a second time, right? Because I just okay, it didn't really. It felt at the end when the credits rolled, I felt hollow, and then I realized it's just a remake of the original movie, and it's not as good. So okay, fine. But I left the theater, and from what I understand, Mr. Abrams at least had some concept of where he wanted to go. You know, he's not really a long-term planner, as we saw from Lost and other things he's done. He doesn't. That's not how his mind works creatively. He doesn't really look to the future, but let's assume that those reports are true. He had some kind of treatment or at least some synopsis of where he wanted the movies to go. And then Mr. Rian Johnson shows up and says, I'm not going to do that either. He throws it out, right? And then he proceeds to make a movie that cannot actually have a sequel to it because he's made a movie that essentially ends everything, right? And he created this impossible situation with The Last Jedi where, you know, it's not only is it a bad film, it's actually the end film of a trilogy. It feels like the ending of a story, and there's no middle now. So there's nowhere to go. So he put the whole problem and situation into this thing, and he did that purely for his own reasons, and we can talk about what those reasons could be. Right. But this created this pattern which became disastrous because once you had people throwing out pre-planned stuff, throwing out Lucas, then throwing out whatever J.J. Abrams had planned, and doing that based off of the illusory success of the first movie, because Bob Iger normally would not approve of something like The Last Jedi because it's new, it's untested, it's trying new things. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like anything new. That's what we know. So, but he deferred to, after the success of the first movie, $2 billion, he said, Kathleen Kennedy, I do whatever you want. I trust you, which was a mistake because then she got Rian Johnson together. They said, let's subvert the whole story and get rid of white men and make a political statement and all this stuff.
Wait. Did he just actually say get rid of white men? I mean, like, holy shit. You know, like, okay, well, all right, make a podcast again. That is an argument. He's actually right about The Last Jedi there. The Last Jedi ended, and it ended. It just ended. You know, like, you're like, all right, well, Luke is dead. Where do we go now? I don't know. The First Order is in tatters. Where do we go? Yeah, I don't know. All right. No, I mean, it's a movie, right? 2 years, another one? Oh, okay. There's because it doesn't set up anywhere to go. You can argue that The Empire Strikes Back sets up the next bit with, you know, with the Empire Strikes Back ends with them going off to look for, you know, Lando and Chewie going off to look for Han. And that's what it sets up at the end of that, right? That's what it sets up at the end. Otherwise, you know, I mean, that's where, you know, where it's moving off of that one. And in the case of The Last Jedi, no, there was not much there. There just really wasn't there. I mean, we can effectively go through it and, like, you know, from just a storytelling perspective, how the movie continuously ends up failing itself. There's good elements there. There's bad elements there. Canto Bight stops the movie dead in its tracks. Really does. I've dwelled on that quite a bit, but okay. So I'm just kind of curious. I mean, I agree with, okay. So Cosmic here, it wasn't planned. They did have, look, when you write the opening movie of a trilogy, you're going to plot out the second and third bits because you have to establish where those plot points are going to go. The little crumbs you set up, right? The storylines you kick off, those have a place that they have to go. And so they did. They had a treatment for everything. I don't know what happened with Rian Johnson. I honest to God don't know what happened. I would love to know what happened with that. I would love for someone to talk. But they're promotional. Or, you know, there are professionals, what I should say. Oh, look, he's taking a bump. Yeah. Yeah, Shogunair says at the end of Empire, rebels got whooped, but they weren't defeated. The Last Jedi, they were down to one ship. Spook, pretty bendy feeling. Okay, let's continue this.
And together they came up with this scheme, and then they made this movie. And when Iger saw it, it was too late. There's nothing to do, right? And so everything went down in quicksand. But that created this pattern of people not having a plan. We've seen a plan for Marvel.
Oh, hold on. All right, Joe. Look, no, it wasn't that JJ deviated from the plan. Trevorrow's script, wasn't Luke a big part of Trevorrow's script? And like, that was the whole point. So, I mean, again, and I agree with Degrassi here. You had 3 separate filmmakers who essentially refused to collaborate. I do agree. That's kind of the whole thing. Here is they needed a central voice leading it. That's the biggest problem. But yeah.
At least we saw a plan for Marvel in the first 3 phases of Marvel that seemed to work largely well to Endgame. And now we're seeing the phase 4 come out, and it doesn't look like there's much of a plan here. It's not a plan. It's really not a good plan.
It's like throwing stick wads on a wall and just watch them fall down. And no one wants to see that. They want good, consistent stories. And if we don't get it, well, people will just abandon it eventually.
No one is abandoning Marvel, like at all. Like not at all. We debunked this last night with that shitty ass Bounding into Comics article. WandaVision broke the internet. Falcon and Winter Soldier did very well, after the fact, according to Nielsen ratings. Loki did exceptionally well, biggest premiere on Disney Plus. Hawkeye, I'm waiting for the Nielsen ratings to come on in, but I guarantee you it's still doing well. Black Widow and Shang-Chi, you know what? Theatrically speaking, during a pandemic, they did okay. Black Widow did very well on the Disney Premier Access. $120 million. That's profit for Disney, by the way. And then Shang-Chi did very well for the budget. It made a modest profit. And I'm sure it's done pretty well on home video. And it's already out on Disney Plus because the impact value is there. The Eternals has not done as well, but then again, it's also one of Marvel's more experimental films. And I think it might find its home on Disney Plus when it comes on January 12th, which is now when that's coming. Again, everything that they're saying here, they don't provide specifics about what's failing. And that's my biggest argument here. It's like they're just speculating without looking at any data, because it's easier just to make shit up than it is to actually go, maybe I'll go and do my research.
Well, part of the problem again is this culture in recent days in Hollywood. We've seen one thing I've talked about, which is directors deluding themselves as writers. Ridley Scott never deluded himself. I mean, he's an old school. He knew what he was good at, and he would just direct, right? And so he never deluded himself about that. But then this new culture of deluded directors began. It's really over the last decade that I experienced. I didn't really experience that. I've been here 20 years. The first decade I was here, I didn't experience that. Second decade I have. And then the other culture is this thing that really began with the success of Mr. Abrams, which is things like Lost, where they're just making it up as they go along, right? And they have success in the moment, but the victory is hollow at the end, because people enjoyed Lost throughout the whole thing, and then when it was over, they're like, so what was that all about? And then people's large opinion is, you don't know where you're going. You didn't know you were going this whole time. And they look back at it. And then that culminated ultimately in the disaster of Game of Thrones, right? Which is an incredible series that falls apart in the last 2 seasons because they don't know where they're going, and they want to rush to get to wherever they don't know where they're going to, because they want to get out of this and they want to go do Star Wars and do other things. They don't care anymore about their own thing. So
I have openly and vehemently disagreed with that take. I say this again. I will say this until I die, I guess. George left them hanging. And while they should have definitely made more episodes, they chose to do it the way that they did. The series, the last 2 seasons were good, in my opinion. The only issue I really have was some of the fast travel across the continent was a little bit too quick. That was really about it. But other than that, I thought it worked out pretty well. I've always liked it. And I blame George. I blame George because you know what? Where the fuck are the other books? It's been a decade. All right. That's how you know. That's how you know when he's talked all this trash about these books, about the show. but he couldn't even finish what he was writing by the time they got to the end. So you know what? That's my thing with that.
That culture of this sort of narcissism of storytellers,
Right.
or people think they are storytellers, has been the major problem over the last decade. It is why our storytelling in the last 10 years has been so unfulfilling. It is this problem, the psychological problem of people that put their own egos first over the stories. When I do anything that I do, I'm working on several TV projects right now. I've written pilots for them. I've sold pilots for them. And with every project, I have a 5-year plan. And when we initially take our meetings to pitch the project, the executive's like, so have you thought about what might happen this season? I'm like, oh, not only have I thought about what's going to happen this season, I can tell you what's going to happen in season 4, right? And I'll lay it out for them in the pitch. I was like, this is where season 1 ends. This is where we're going next season. And here's the season after that. And this is how the show ends whenever we get there, right? I've laid it out. Will it evolve with time? Of course. But I have a feasible plan today that I can, if it just is that and doesn't make any changes, it's a workable story that people are going to enjoy, right?
Exactly.
And that's how you do it.
That's the only.
See, here's the thing with that. You know what? I'll tell you what. I think he's actually, I would argue he's probably been in positions where he has been able to get with executives and make pitches. It's also possible at the fact that if they're, now way more digging into people's social media presences and everything else as they get into, as they do, it's possible that they Google this guy, they see the shit that he comes up with, they see where his name is plastered, and they don't want to work with him. I mean, that's probably about it, as weird as that is to say.
Only way to do it, really.
That is the only way.
I don't know if you saw this, but you and I have a bit of a common thing. I was an extra on Rain twice.
I saw that you mentioned that. Yes. So
Yeah.
what episodes were you in? What seasons?
Okay, I think we got to the end of that one right there. Look, Cameron, he definitely has some, he's got some experience. I'll grant him that. And I think right there, he was being truthful. I think he was being truthful in talking about the process. And he definitely blinks a lot and he moves around like a bobblehead. But I think right there, he was being as genuine as I have seen, because that is something that is passionate to him, but it's what he jumps to in his conclusions that are definitely when he goes on these live streams and they go, hey, what is your take on what's happening with Kathleen Kennedy or happening with Kevin Feige? And he jumps on this radical tirade that makes no logical sense. That is why we laugh at him. Here, he's at least making some points that you go, okay, I get what he's trying to say. So this isn't as chuddy as other things. This is, I think I would honestly say this is probably him at his most lucid that I have seen. And why can't he be like that more often? It would just make, Music Man here says he didn't seem high for once. Completely agree. If the guy went and he sold something, I don't think he'd be doing what he's doing on Patreon if he's selling it as much as he says that he is. Or he's taking a serious lowball offer. It's a hard business. The guy's clearly working an angle here. Midnight's Edge props him up. They profit off of having him on. He's able to then sell his Patreon. They all promote his Patreon. He's on Doomcock. Doomcock promotes his Patreon. Tells people to go and subscribe to it. That's part of the game. It's part of the grift. They're able to use him for his takes. And in the return, they prop up his Patreon, which allows him to earn, I don't want to say a good, a good LA living, but enough to get by a little bit, and that's really what it boils down to. I don't think he's getting a lot of teaching gigs. I don't think he's selling a lot of books. I think he's trying to just sell access through his Patreon. And he's doing it by straight up lying to people about what's going on and occult shit. That's what it boils down to. DeGrassi says here, that's his grift. Doesn't he have a Patreon and Substack? Absolutely. Shiftyism says, I like his way of thinking because after watching shows like Blacklist spiral out of control with its pulled from their rear end crap fest mythology, every show that is sold should have a 4-year plan. Well, no, here's the thing with that. That's actually like not an out of the way line of thinking. Many people have said that for years. I've said that for years, that most of these shows should go in with a 5-season plan, a beginning, a middle, and end, and that's that. And if the show is the problem, though, is some like show like the Blacklist it's popular, and so they keep renewing it when it's far past its prime. The fact that Elizabeth Keene, I forget the actress's name, or that might be her name, whatever, the main actress from the show has now left the show, goes to show you that it's like maybe the show should not be around anymore. You know, like the Goldbergs is a show that I like. They're on their 9th season. The main kid is going to graduate high school. He's a senior in the show now. And even the guy who played Jeff Gardner, who plays the dad, I think that's his name. You know, he was like, I don't think the show's coming back next season. So it's like, you know, you need to have an end plan for these shows. Shows don't need to run for 10, 12 years. Shows can run, especially drama shows, can run for 5 seasons, hit your 100 episodes, so it goes into syndication, have a beginning, a middle, and an end planned out. The problem with Lost is that they sold Lost as a concept that ultimately it wasn't, they didn't know what it was when they went into it, and then they got stuck. And Lindelof was the primary writer on that. JJ ends up getting all the shit for that, but Lindelof was the guy, you know? So it's like, there's a lot of it there. There's a lot of that there. So, you know, it's crazy. Yeah. McLeod. It's the Letitia Wright thing. We talked about that last night. It's been debunked. It's been debunked. Yeah. Is it entirely, possible that she'll be out after the movie? 100%, but you know, we don't know yet. Jess here says, we need to chat about Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I haven't seen Brotherhood, so I can't talk about that. And it's been a long time since I've seen the first one. Now, David here makes a great point. SG-1 ran for 10 seasons, but the concept of SG-1 of going to almost infinite worlds, you can establish that, right? You can establish a lore. X-Files did a good job by establishing blocks of storytelling, you know, where if you go, there was a time for a while where you could get these like X-File collections. It was like abductions, the black oil, you know, things along those lines, like the actual arcs in the show. And that was definitely something. But I would say also that when X-Files moved from Vancouver to LA for between season 6 and season 7 was pretty fucking dope. You know, and I remember SG-1 doing really well as well. Hopefully now that Amazon has, when they acquire MGM, when that whole thing goes through and they get Epics and they get Stargate, they'll be able to actually revive Stargate and give it the love that it needs. And then Rational here says Simpsons has had a lot of seasons too, and it's generally considered shit after like season 12 by a lot of people, but it's lived on because people watch it. And when it's popular, you know, I mean, my friend and I posited this shit like 20 fucking years ago. We were asking ourselves, like, do you think Fox is just too afraid to cancel The Simpsons? And I'm like, yeah. And then it's been 2 more decades and The Simpsons hasn't been canceled, but only 1 movie has come out, which is really weird, you know? And obviously, yeah, I think they are afraid of canceling The Simpsons. Shogun here with $10, man. Thank you so much. Says, sometimes I watch Star Trek and the show itself breaks me out of it. Like, damn, why does this ship keep running into shit? The show is on too long. Are you talking like which Star Trek? There's any of the Star Treks, or like, I mean, you know, is it just like the concept just kind of runs out its welcome? Because I mean, again, a lot of that becomes problem of the week. It becomes problem of the week. And problem of the week storytelling in shows now is kind of like, it's considered like a drag, right? It's just a drag because it's like, okay, well, yeah, these are individual episodes, but it's very difficult to kind of establish, I think, a camaraderie with the characters as much. We like the longer running serialized, you know, chapter by chapter storytelling. It's done very well. But that's my take on it. Other people are different on that one. You know, what's the one I'm thinking of? Like, I had a thought. I lost it. You know, I lost it. But thank you for that one. Let's see. Alex here says Stargate 1 was best when it was on Showtime. Yeah. I remember when I rented the VHS of the Stargate, the TV show movie, Stargate 1 movie. And then, it had like full frontal nudity. And I was all like, damn, like, what the fuck? What's going on? Holy shit. You know, I was not expecting full frontal nudity. I saw that it was rated R. I was like, why the fuck is this thing rated R? Like, all right, you know, and then, yeah, there's boobs and bush. I was, very, very, surprised as a child. No, I was like 17, I think. Rational here asks, will Law and Order ever get canceled? Well, will sexual assault ever stop? Considering all that shit's ripped from the fucking headlines, probably not. Lots of raping going on, unfortunately. David here says, Stargate is my fave series. Hopefully we get a new series with the Amazon merger goes through. I'm hoping we do. I'm really hoping we do. I would recommend check out a channel called the Pop. Oh my God. The Popcast. That's it. The Popcast. I'm friends with those guys. Brian and Shane, they're brothers. Popcast. Check them out. They're big Stargate nuts. Huge Stargate nuts. Have some good videos on Stargate. I love those guys. Check them out. Let's see. Sci-Fi Channel definitely hurt its production value over the years. Yeah. Well, I mean, remember, Sci-Fi just like for a while to start straight canceling shows. I mean, there was the American version of Being Human that was really good, and they just canceled it after what, like 3 seasons or some shit. Not even an ending. Never mind the Alphas. God damn it. Alphas was basically Sci-Fi's version of X-Men. It was written by Zach Penn, who wrote the X-Men movies, the first couple X-Men movies, as well as the first draft for Avengers that Joss Whedon adapted into what was filmed. And the show was really good. And then they end the second season and it ends on a cliffhanger. And then, you know what? Fucking the show gets canceled. I feel like if you're going to invest in the shows like this, I think it's 3 season minimum. Tell the first story in 3 seasons. If you can stretch it to 5, stretch it to 5, but nail your first 3 seasons, nail the storytelling. And then if it cancels after that, it cancels after that, but it gives audiences closure. Will we ever get a sequel to Office Space? No. Do I remember the Gamergate SVU episode? Yes, I do. Yes. Not only Toby Turner, but Logan Paul. And the famous line, "Go home, gamer girl." All that shit. Remember all that? Yeah, Andromeda. I remember Andromeda. Andromeda was dope, dude. I liked it. Okay, so one of the big complaints, or at least one that was kind of valid, of modern Trek was that it's no longer episodic like the older shows were, aside from maybe Enterprise. Well, again, it's the way storytelling is told through a serialized approach, chapter and chapter, right? I mean, I get why people might find that to be a bit on the complaint side, but they're only doing like 13 episodes or whatever per season. So having it be serialized and having each season tell a certain story is what they're doing. You know, I mean, The Mandalorian is serialized, but also still kind of playing to an overall arc. It works, right? It works. Star Trek, I don't really see them doing that, especially because they were trying to establish Michael Burnham and everything else. So I don't know. I don't know. New Discovery is more episodic this season. Okay, cool. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. Wow, Kevin Sorbo is trying to pitch Andromeda to a streaming service. I mean, like, look, Kevin Sorbo is fucking insane. But if he ever got that, I would do that. I would definitely do that. It's Companion here for $2, but it says, out of the 2, I was surprised that Toby got canceled. Yeah, I mean, you know, I remember when those accusations came out, and I remember all that stuff. And I mean, didn't he deny it? I mean, did he actually get canceled, or did he end up like coming back? I honestly have I don't know. Shifty Gizm here says, just finished the final season of Netflix's Lost in Space. Not as good as the first two, but want more. Where does that property go next? Who is the film rights? I don't know. And I mean, I don't know. They gave us 3 seasons of the show. That's better than some. They finished it up. So that's pretty good. I need to watch it. I haven't seen it. I heard the first 2 seasons were pretty good. It's like the Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events. I watched the first 2 seasons of the show. And we didn't do the 3rd season of the show because like we just got distracted when it came out. So I got to finish watching it. But like I really liked the first 2 seasons. So, you know, again, it's like at least Netflix at the time was giving us something, giving us this. They were allowing these shows to kind of finish up and shit. I'm a little bit bummed about Cowboy Bebop, but at the same time, I get it. And it's not to say I'm defending the show. I just wanted to see if it could do better. And then asking, am I excited for Scream 5? Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Okay, Cosmic here says that I think Lost in Space is owned by Universal. So maybe Peacock will get more Lost in Space down the road. Who knows? But all right, guys, I got to start wrapping this thing up. So we're going to do this Commissar convincing Ogren to get into the transport. I do believe this is the one that Command Unit wants us to check out. He has definitely supported the channel. So, you know, 2 minutes to react is all good. Let's give this thing a watch. I don't know what it's about. We'll find out.
Og, the Emperor needs you to get into the Crassus transport.
No, it's too small. It's too scary. It makes me tummy feel funny.
The Commissar sighed as he tried to coax the terrified Ogren inside the armored carrier. You want to smash the Emperor's enemies, don't you?
Yes.
And you want to follow the Emperor's orders, don't you?
Yes.
Then get in the Crassus!
No, it's too small, too scary.
The Commissar sighed and brought all of his patience to bear. Og, why don't we say our prayers and ask the Emperor for strength? Then you can be brave enough to go into the transport, yes?
Okay.
The Ogren kneels on the ground and the Commissar follows suit, both clasping their hands in front of them in prayer. The Emperor is big and strong. He protects us humans all day long. He slays the Chaos and Xenos foe, so we may expand and always grow. He rules above with us beneath, so follow orders and brush your teeth. The Emperor wants what's best for you, so eat your rations and grow strong, it's true. 1, 2, 1, 2, a marching tune. We go to face the foe. We give them shells and lasgun rounds and send them running to and fro. The Emperor always guides us. He wants us to attack. For just as he protects us all, we must protect him back.
Okay. All right. That was, I guess, Canyon here says wholesome 40K pilled. I guess that is actually pretty wholesome compared to some of the other shit that we've seen from 40K. That is very true. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I know that's definitely something. All right, guys, that is going to be a night for me tonight, though. A lot of fun. Mikey Sutton popped in for a long time. Great conversations. Went over a bunch of fun stuff. And tomorrow, I will be back on to talk a bit about the whole thing involving West Side Story. And like, it's not doing well, guys. It's not doing well. And what that means for cinema, as well as whatever else might come up. Apparently theaters are now getting their hands on the No Way Home digital file. And you know what? Again, we're going to be getting into a good week full of stuff. Thank you guys all again. If you haven't already, please feel free to like the video, to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And again, just know that I appreciate you, even if we might disagree. I appreciate you. Thank you guys very much. Have yourself a great night, and I'll see you all later.